It's now time for Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, live on the Woodward Sports Network. Every day, 2 to 4 p.m. Starring Ryan Ermanni, Michigan great and former NFL baller Braylon Edwards, and of course, Tom Mazaway. Let's talk some sports.
And welcome to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, Wednesday, April 12th. We are live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam, filling in for Ryan Ermanni. The man to my right, of course, is the greatest wide receiver in Michigan history, Braylon Edwards. After that flattery I just gave you, how you feeling today?
I feel good, man. You see, I got this big smile on my face, man. I appreciate you. Always good to work with you. You see, it's nice outside, so I got my Birmingham roast mango smoothie complete with whip. Hey, a lot of people came at me on Instagram yesterday as it relates to the Jack Campbell stuff that we were talking about yesterday. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I had a guy on comment section, couple comments in the comment section, came out and were like, why don't you just let Brad Holmes draft? You shut up, shut your big mouth with your messed up beard, let Brad Holmes cook. Look, man, I am going to let Brad Holmes cook. My job, I'm not holding anything over Brad Holmes. Like, he will cook, like the mad scientist that I call him. My job is our job is between now and the draft is to find out what the hell the Detroit Lions are doing. And I know one thing they better not be doing is drafting Jack Campbell at pick 48. But how you guys doing over there?
But you know what? Our job isn't to actually be Brad Holmes. Our job is to give our opinion.
Speculate, assume, make honest, hey, this is what my research tells me. My research tells me this isn't a good move.
And I get it. Jack Campbell has been a hot name, and a lot of people in this building, a lot of Lions fans want him, but you gave some reasons why he wouldn't be a good draft pick, and honestly, I don't know if you've swayed me over to your side completely, but you at least use sound logic, and I get your points. I respect your argument, man.
I appreciate that. I just think for me sometimes it's like it gets to the point where it's like the blind leading the blind, where someone in the city will say something, and then someone else follows that, and now someone else is trending with that. Now someone else is saying that. Now people are coming to work like, yeah, man, that Jack Campbell, man, he's a bad dude. Like, you ain't even watch his highlight tapes. You don't even know anything about him. And then it just matriculates down, and before you know it, the whole city is clamoring for a player that they haven't even watched the film or they know nothing about. So I felt it was my job to give you the other side some other insight.
And you know what? And that is fair. And in the sound booth, we have JV Smooth. There is no man I would rather have doing sound on any of my shows than JV Smooth. How you feeling today, my guy?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just ready for another show. Obviously, I'm not drafting Jack Campbell, so thank you, Braylon, for giving all us that insight yesterday as well, too. I didn't know all those things, but now that I see it, all right, you're swaying my opinion more,
hey, man,
not to draft Jack Campbell.
That's what I'm here to do, man. I like that. I like the throwback today. I like the MTV hat. I like the Nike. I see what you're doing in the booth.
He took all of the heat so that you didn't have to, JB. And of course, in the technical director's booth, we have Fletch. I would ask how he is doing, but he specifically told me not to come to him today. His voice is a little bit out, but it's all love. I love working with you, Fletch. And speaking of things that I love, LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers.
God. Here we go.
And I'll tell you what, I am a sicko. I stayed up all night until 1 in the morning and then watched a bunch of pregame. I got hardly any sleep last night. That was an intense game. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 108-102 in overtime. It wasn't a super impressive victory, but now they're moving on to face the Memphis Grizzlies. You don't seem to think that the Lakers have any chance.
You should be embarrassed at yourself that you stayed up till 1 o'clock watching that sham that was the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Technically, it wasn't. Thank you, JB. It wasn't even the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was the Los Angeles Lakers versus Karl Anthony Towns. That was it. Anthony Edwards didn't show up.
Terrible.
Rudy Gobert got suspended because he punched his player Anderson. Anderson was halfway there. Anthony Edwards is exhausted from having to carry the team the whole season. Conley showed up a little bit. Man, this is an easy win for the Lakers, and they made it go to overtime. LeBron James disappears. Since that's your guy, I was waiting for you to come in with this LBJ talk. LeBron James disappeared the last 20 minutes of the game. Like from 2 minutes and 20 seconds through all of overtime, he had 3 points and he had 1 assist. That's your king? That's your king? Man, stop it. The Lakers, hell, I have to give Darvin Ham credit. If Darvin Ham didn't put D'Angelo Russell on the bench, they would have lost last night because D'Angelo was horrible.
No, D'Angelo Russell was horrible. Dennis Schroeder was good, and I thought Rui
21 points,
Hachimura played well. But let the record also show you that LeBron James did hit the 3 to tie the game at 95.
Right.
And his assist was the drive and kick to Dennis Schroeder to give them the go-ahead shot, which Anthony Davis then ruined by fouling Mike Conley while shooting a 3. And Conley made all of his free throws. But then, of course, the Lakers pulled it out in overtime. I still think this is a team that can beat any team in the West except for the Phoenix Suns. I know they didn't look impressive, but survive in advance.
It goes back to what I said yesterday. Like they definitely had the best run from All-Star break till now. But what comes with that, AD's been playing like he's never played before. If AD gets a hangnail, he's sitting on the bench. If AD has a headache, he's not playing in the game. But AD has played 11 to 12 to 13 consistent games. He's getting 15 rebounds. Last night, he wasn't great. He still had 15 and 24. You can win a ball game when you play like that, but he's getting tired. He's the little nicks and bruises. His knee got banged up on Sunday. Nobody think I saw that. So he's getting banged up. He's getting bruised. He's been playing through a lot. And if you got guys like D'Angelo Russell that can't play when the lights come on, and you got to go back to the bench with Schroeder, Rui Hachimura, he hasn't been consistent. If you got to go through all that against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were down 3 players, and I'm talking 3 major players, it's just I can't see you beating one of these West teams who are deep. I can't see you beating Memphis in a 7-game series. I can't see you beating the Nuggets in a 7-game series. I can't see you beating I can see you maybe beating the Clippers, but I can't see you beating some of these teams in 7-game series, man. I just Sacramento, I'm telling you, Sacramento is going to be the sleeper. Don't be surprised if Sacramento, and they damn sure not going to beat the Suns. That's the team I was looking for. Or Golden State in the 7-game series, even if Golden State doesn't have Andrew Wiggins. I just don't trust AD and the rest of the team. I trust Bron, but I don't trust AD and the rest of the team.
Well, you mentioned AD, how he's been playing well lately, and he's been consistently available. Let the record show you, for the record, that I said that twice, that in the month of March, Anthony Davis was Western Conference Player of the Month when they needed him the most. He gave you 28 and 12 on 59% shooting. He gave you 7 30-point games and 4 30-point double-doubles. And when he's right, he's a top 10 player in the NBA. When LeBron is right, he's still a top 10 player in the NBA at age 38. So that's what I'm speaking from.
How's
He needs
AD,
superstars.
How's AD been looking scoring the last 2 games, though?
Not great.
He did do all of that. He played hard. But we've never seen AD play that long and that consistent of a stretch. So now comes the next question, which is, can he continue? How long before AD falls apart? How long before there's something where AD, who's usually something comes up, and it's easy for him to say, I can't go today. How long before that moment presents itself and now LeBron and the Lakers are looking like, damn, what you going to do? You going to barbecue or mildew? Because that's technically he's usually mildew. Is he going to barbecue this year?
Well, Anthony Davis is definitely due for not just a game where he sits out, but a game where he gives you like 14 and 11 or something like that and kind of disappears for stretches. But let the record also show you that in the 2020 Bubble Championship, he played very well, and LeBron and AD as a duo were one of the most talented duos, I think, to ever win a finals. But anywho, you might be right.
Did you just bring that bubble chip up?
Hey, that counts. It all counts.
Asterisk.
There's no asterisk.
Asterisk. Hold on. Let me draw you something on this paper right now. I'm going to do like this. I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to do something like this. You see that, ladies and gentlemen? You can't really see it on the TV. That's called an asterisk. And that's what that championship has. Well, it has an asterisk.
But let me just ask you this, and I know it's not LeBron radio, but if it was so easy, then why couldn't the Clippers have won it? Why did Kawhi and Paul George choke? Why couldn't the Celtics have won it? Why couldn't the Heat have won it? Why couldn't have Jokic and Murray won it? Why couldn't the Jazz have won it? That's the thing. Somebody had to win it.
Because all of them had wives, and they was missing their wives, and they wanted to get back home to their regularly scheduled program. They didn't want to be in the bubble. LeBron, he convinced them to win the championship in the bubble. That's all I'm saying.
But you got to get credit for that.
He
survived in advance.
LeBron was an excellent leader during a terrible time. I will give you that. It was a horrible time. Everybody staying in the same hotels. They're playing the same 3 courts. Everybody had to stay there except Lou Will, who he just went to get the wing. He just went to get the wings. He just went to get the wings. But everybody's staying there. He did a good job of keeping his guys focused, keeping his guys consistent, especially considering Avery Bradley didn't come to the bubble, and that was their best defender, their best 2-ball on defender. So I'll give him credit for that.
Well, speaking of LA teams, how about the Los Angeles Angels? They finally decided to win a game yesterday, and guess who was pitching? Shohei Ohtani. They actually won 2-0, and Shohei Ohtani, I just got to give him...
This is like Woodward Sports West.
Yes, I have to give him a little bit of love. Actually, a lot of love, because he is the best baseball player I've ever seen. He might be the Cy Young favorite for this season in the AL while also playing MVP level as a hitter. In last night's game, 7 innings, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, and on the season, 2-0, an 0.47 ERA, while also hitting 300 with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. He might be even better this year than he was the years before. Best we've ever seen. Appreciate this man. He is the best baseball player I have ever laid eyes on. The best there ever was, best there ever will be. Do not take this man for granted.
Yeah, last night he broke a tie with Nolan Ryan and that was 9 games. Both of them had 9 games in terms of not allowing more than 2 runs in 9 straight games. Last night he broke the tie, so now he's at 10. He's phenomenal. I've never seen anything like him. To know that someone exists currently, like this is that we're not making this up and we're talking about projections for 2050 or 2040 or 2035. Hey man, it's gonna be this player that can win the Cy Young as well as the MVP. Bro, he's here. He's now. And right now, as eloquated so smooth by my man Flannel, he has a chance to win both awards in the same season. Babe Ruth never had a chance to do anything like that.
Well, that's the thing. Babe Ruth, and not to get too geeky, was never, I think was only for 1 season, did both at a high level. But when
it was like 3, but yeah, to your point. Like, it wasn't like this, though. Like,
no.
It wasn't a high level like this.
No, Shohei Ohtani is the best. He's so good that in a season where Aaron Judge broke the all-time American League home run record,
yeah.
I still think it was a farce that he won the MVP over Shohei Ohtani because Shohei Ohtani should win every year. I'm sure Maz would disagree with that.
But 2 things. One, but then it becomes to the point. It's like LeBron. It's kind of like It's kind of like the LeBron James argument of him being able Jordan being able to win MVP every year. LeBron was on a run where he could have won for about 6 straight years. I'm not a LeBron hater. He definitely could have. You mix it up. But this year, I think MLB. If you want people to pay attention, like if you want to grow your brand, especially around kids, you got to do something different. You literally have to start a campaign. You got to pump up Shohei Ohtani, talking about the home runs he's hitting. Do some kind of campaign. Also do on the mound campaign. And then you guys got to basically let us know that you're going to give him the Cy Young as well as, he's going to take the Cy Young as well as the MVP. Something like that would be special. That's how MLB can get their fan base back. I would tune in to watch every time he pitches to see if they're going to give him the Cy Young and then see every time he hits, how's he going to hit it.
You know what? And it was a great night. At least for one night, the Angels were able to stabilize themselves, and it's because Shohei Ohtani pitched. And I'm not an LA sports fan, I promise. I just love LeBron and AD.
Fooled me.
And I love Shohei and Mike Trout. And I wanted to re-rack something that we talked about on Monday. And very quickly before we go to break, your boy Jimmy Butler.
Who? I don't know who Jimmy Butler is.
You didn't mention him yesterday?
I did. I can't take it back. So listen, man, every time you see Jimmy usually in the playoffs, man, whether he was with Philly, whether he was with Chicago, whether he was with Miami, like last year, he scored 46 in Game 6 to go to overtime. Hell, he had 25 or 28 in Game 7, and he had a good look. He just usually balls. Last night, it wasn't the case, man. It was all Ice Tray and Jonte Murray.
I mean, those are 2 teams, the Heat and the Atlanta Hawks.
Shouldn't be in the play-in.
They should not be in the play-in. They have too much talent, but they both have disappointed. But Jimmy Butler, to your point, he has consistently been great in the playoffs. He's a Hall of Famer. When it's all said and done, he is 100% a Hall of Famer. And, of course, we have 2 more play-in games tonight. I'm sure
you missed. Somebody else had a good game last night for the Atlanta Hawks. I guess the history goes on and on. Former Pistons, former Lions, former Tigers, former Red Wings to have success. Because guess who had 17-6 last night?
He did.
Sadiq Bey, formerly of the Detroit Pistons. And so it begins again.
But it did take him 17 shots. But he did score and they did win. I'll give him that.
He got more wins than the Pistons doing the playoffs.
That's for damn sure. And we hope that he doesn't turn out to be a star with the Hawks. He's never going to be a star, but like a consistent 3-and-D guy. Maybe.
He'll be a guy that'd be like the second man off the bench. I think that would be like the trajectory of his career.
And I think that's about right. We're going to talk about Detroit sports when we get back. The Detroit Lions have a certain anniversary that they are celebrating. Maybe they can rein it in with a damn good year. We shall see. But first, I have to tell you about Guardian Alarm.
Tell us about Guardian Alarm.
It's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800
Stay out.
Guardian Alarm.
You've heard of Gordon Ramsay. You've heard of Bobby Flay. But Thursday night Master Chef Brad Holmes will be in the kitchen with all of the ingredients needed to make a great dish on draft night. Join Woodward Sports for our 3rd annual Woodward Sports Draft Party, live at 5th Avenue in Royal Oak. The past 2 years, these parties have been standing room only, so get your tickets early at eventbrite.com. Don't miss out on all the fun with Braylon Edwards, Ryan Ermanni, Neil Rule, Darren McCarty, and the entire Woodward Sports crew. The party starts at 7:30 p.m. Don't miss the biggest draft party in the Motor City, brought to you by the biggest network, Woodward Sports.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Seafood Fest is back at Big Boy. Catch it while you can until Monday, April 17th. Some favorites like shrimp Alfredo, shrimp stir fry, and the new fish sandwich. Go to your local Big Boy today. Don't forget the all-you-can-eat fish fry buffet this Friday night. And welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam filling in for Ryan Ermanni. I got Braylon Edwards to my right. And if you missed the live show, be sure to check out the podcast. It's available on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get their podcasts. And while you're watching us on the website, check out everything else they have to offer, like their merch, live replays of shows. It's got everything you could possibly need. And now we have to talk about the most popular topic in the gift that keeps on giving, that is the Detroit Lions.
The Lions.
I found out, and I was told and found out that Lions are celebrating their 90th year as a franchise this
The big 90.
season. The big 9-0. They're gonna have a commemorative patch. And Braylon, you have a list of some things that happened 90 years ago, some anniversaries.
Yeah, hold on. Before I get to the list, what about this patch? How are we feeling about this patch? Because to me, does the coloring look a little off?
Coloring does look a little off.
Looks like the patch is a little lighter than the actual stitching around the numbers.
Yeah, it's not a very attractive, aesthetically pleasing patch, and I don't know if they should be having a patch of their 90 seasons on any jersey. Because they are the worst.
What are they celebrating?
They're celebrating being the worst franchise in all of American team sports. Fletch, what do you got?
Doesn't that patch go where their captain's patch is supposed to go, or am I wrong?
I do not know that one.
I mean, they'll figure it out, but by the time the season starts, that's what I'm hoping happens with this patch. Look, I don't want to be too beating up on the patch when it's only April 12th or 13th, whatever the hell the day is. But that's a patch they got to work on. They got to work on that patch, man.
They absolutely got to work on that patch.
Come on, Detroit. Y'all doing a lot of things right. This patch ain't one of them. I need you to get this patch together before we get to September. But here we go.
Yes.
90 years ago. What did 1933 look like? Well, the president was, I want to say, FDR. I knew that off the top of my head. What else we got? Monthly rent was $18.
Oh, Jesus.
$18 was monthly rent.
Damn.
Gas. Talking about how expensive gas is. 10 cents a gallon was what gas was. We were in one of the worst years of the Depression. Oh, but guess what? The repeal of Prohibition.
Ooh.
Started serving alcohol again. That was good for those guys that were struggling on the job. Larry King was born. Willie Nelson was born. Yoko Ono, Boo, was born. Michael Caine, if you love Batman, that's Alfred. And Volkswagen was launched. Japan created the shotgun. And yeah, I think that is what happened 90 years ago. Oh, and the New York Giants, baseball New York Giants, won the World Series.
Baseball New York Giants.
Baseball
Back
New
when they
York
were at
Giants.
the Polo Grounds. I'm sure Maz was
Look
there.
at you, the Polo
Grounds. And as someone who's a big Beatles fan, I second boo to Yoko Ono.
She wrecked the Beatles, and then she wrecked John Lennon.
She absolutely did.
So,
no
boo
doubt
to Yoko Ono.
No doubt about it. And obviously the Detroit Lions as a franchise
they
have
existed
been
too. My apologies.
Yes, have been absolutely. They've been the worst franchise in all of American team sports. I know they had a run in the 50s, but when we talk about football nowadays, we talk about the Super Bowl era. In the Super Bowl era, the Lions have won exactly one playoff game in 1991. It's been awful. There's not a whole lot to celebrate within the 90 years, but I'll tell you what, there might be something to celebrate this season, because this is looking like it could potentially be one of the best Lions seasons ever if everything turns out the way that we hope that it would, with all of the additions that were made in free agency, with all of the draft picks and whatnot that basically panned out to be potential stars. Braylon, can the Lions celebrate their 90th year in style with, at the very least, an emoticon of success, whatever it means to you?
Look, I just want to throw something out there. I want to put this in perspective. Like, before you move forward, sometimes you got to address, what has been the past, what is.
Yeah.
Do you realize, to put perspective on one playoff win since 1957?
Yes.
One playoff win since 1957. The Carolina Panthers came into existence 1995. Was it 94? 94 and 95. I'm off by one, or I'm right on point. They have 9 playoff wins. They came into existence. Came into existence almost 70 years after you. And they have 9 playoff wins. To answer your question, Flannel Sound, this could be a special 90th year. You see what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have done. Look, we keep talking about it. Like, to talk about what they've done is to beat a dead horse. But the team believes in it as well. You saw the players. They're already here. Players are already ready to get down. They're already ready to work out. Players are back at their homes. They've been here early. Last year, they talked about it. Tracy Walker came on the show and said, the reason why I signed so early and I came back to Detroit in February, I'm ready to get after it. Dan Campbell has these guys buying in. That's the next step. We know who's coming here now. We know Emmanuel Moses is coming here. We know C.J. Gardner-Johnson's coming here. We know that Cam Sutton's coming here. We know the players that are coming. We know what's being set up, but they want to be here. They want to be here. They're already here. They're grinding. They're getting after it. They're getting their footwork together, getting their chemistry together. Guys are learning restaurants. Guys are going out with other guys. That's the next step. And I think they take that step this year. I mean, the draft. We haven't even got to the draft. I mean, just look at all the mock drafts we've seen. Now, it's never going to go as any mock draft predicts. But all the mock drafts, with the exception of 1 or 2, have been great mock drafts. They've all looked like good mock drafts. So I think, man, 90, it's a special year. It's an even number. It's a round number. It's a big one. Why not make it the best one?
This is the most hope I've ever really seen around a Lions team, pretty much in my lifetime, even more than during the 2014 season with, obviously, Matthew Stafford, Calvin, and Ndamukong Suh. This is the most hope I've seen, because the 2022 draft, the previous year, was probably the best draft in Lions history. This last offseason, this one we're in right now, is the best offseason in Detroit Lions history, arguably, one that I can think of. And we look at all of that. Last year they were 9-8. Obviously, 9-8 as a whole isn't a whole lot to write home about, but for the Lions, considering how they started, considering how they finished the season on an 8-2 run, it's a big deal. Their offense was pretty much elite all year, 4th in scoring. In the last 10 games, their defense was 7th in scoring. They solidify their secondary. They have another draft coming up. They upgrade at running back. They have an elite offensive line. You bring back their quarterback. You bring back Amon-Ra St. Brown. You bring back Ben Johnson. You bring back Aaron Glenn. And, of course, Jameson Williams. This is going to be his de facto rookie season. Year. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. So the sky is the limit for this team. I'm irrationally excited. I'm very excited.
It really is, and I'll expound on that a little bit. But before that, the Jacksonville Jaguars came into existence the same time as the Carolina Panthers. They have 8 playoff wins, and they have 3 AFC Championship appearances. The Carolina Panthers have 3 AFC Championship appearances and 2 Super Bowl appearances. 2 Super Bowl appearances, and should have won the first one.
Yes,
like Jake Delhomme. That was one of the underrated Super Bowl quarterback performances. Anyway, going back to last year, you really had to take your hat off to the Detroit Lions, players and coaches, for what they endured and how they finished. 8-2 is special, and the reason why it's so special is everybody ain't doing it. The only time it's ever been done in history in an NFL is 1972. It's the Arizona Cardinals or St. Louis Cardinals, one of the two. It's the only time it's ever seen a finish like that in the last 10 games. They start off 1-6. And this is coming off a season that they were 3-13-1. Do you know how hard it is to get up for games when you suck? Like, do you know, like
I'm
that?
Sure you know.
Like that. Oh hell yeah, Cleveland. The depression where you know you suck going into the season, but you've done everything to try to get right, and then you go into the first game. You're optimistic. It's like, we had a good off season. We had a good training camp. Like, let's go. We picked up some players. And then you lose the first game. Then you lose the second game. Then you lose the third game. Then you win one randomly. Then you lose, and then you lose. You're like, well, we're the same team from last year. I don't want to play anymore. So to have that in those players' mind and still get them in the last 10 games of the season to go from 1-6 to 8-2, to get them to play for Dan Campbell, to get them to play for each other, to get them to stay buying in, to stay focused, to keep your eye on the prize, which is one of the most cliche things of all time, until you see it work. So to finish a season like that, and then to be told because of idiots in the Seattle and Rams game that you're not even going to make the playoffs, regardless if you win or not, and to still go out there and bust Aaron Rodgers' ass in Green Bay, his last time playing for the Green Bay Packers, I'm sold, and I'm ready to see what they're going to do this year. This is definitely going to be the year that they step out the shadow.
Yeah, it was enough motivation for them, even though they had no shot at making the playoffs anymore, to knock Aaron Rodgers out, who's been their number one nemesis for the past decade plus.
Yeah, him and Brett Favre, same team.
Yeah, and to have a winning record. And that was enough of a consolation prize for them last year because they knew what they were building. JB, I gotta ask you, because I know you are optimistic yet realistic. Is this 90th year of the Detroit Lions, is going to be a special one for the Lions?
I think it will be, even though the patch does need some work. I would definitely say that it's a little too old school for me. I think this year will be something special. First, everything needs to fall into place first. First, we start with the draft. Free agency, I believe Brad Holmes nailed that 100%. Then it's a draft, then moving on from the season and training camp and everything like that. So I think this could be the year. I mean, I've already got my money on it already. I'm already claiming them right now. NFC North champions and NFC champions as well.
Well, here's the big question. Should we follow in your footsteps, or are you just a degenerate gambler?
I mean, I'll tell you up front, I'm a degenerate gambler 100%. So you can follow me if you want to, but just know if it hits, hey, I'm going to be making bank that day.
But you're not crazy, though. If you're going to put your team on any team in the NFC, the Lions might be the best value. We coined, or I'm not going to take credit for it, on Big D Energy, a term was coined that is now on a t-shirt, Stoked Not Scared. Because
Stoked
I know.
Not Scared. Stoked Not Scared. Stoked Not Scared.
There you
Stoked
go.
Not Scared.
Stoked Not Scared.
And I know that having these kind of expectations where people are talking about them, I think they have the 4th highest odds to win the NFC.
Yeah, I saw that. People need to chill out. But part of that too is Vegas. Vegas will set you up. Like, Vegas want Detroit to spend all their money and bet on them, and then they'll drop it as well. So be careful. Some of that stuff is Michigan guys, because the fact that they don't have Seattle on there, like Seattle didn't go to the playoffs last year, like Seattle doesn't have a pick before us in the draft, like Seattle doesn't have a great team that they're building around now, and then also they also didn't even have who's the other NFC team they didn't have? The Vikings. Although we know. Oh, we talk about that later.
Yeah, well, the thing about, and you're right about the Seahawks. The Seahawks, in a lot of ways, I wouldn't say mirrored the Lions, but they had a great draft too. They got K9, they got a couple offensive line pieces, they got Tariq Woolen, and they have a lot of the same issues that the Lions had with their scoring defense and their run defense, and they could address that with Jalen Carter. And they have 2 great wide receivers. They have Geno Smith coming off his best year ever. So the Seahawks are a threat as well. But the Lions, I don't even want to think about this. Just imagine how deflated we would all be if they sort of regress to the mean and win 6, 7, or 8 games.
But here's the thing, and I've been hearing that, and you're right. Like, to be deflated, like to have this energy. Like, I didn't even play for the Lions, and I got this energy. I mean, you see what I'm wearing. I'm wearing Jets, but I have this energy because I'm from Detroit, and I've never seen it like this. They can't go back. Like, that's always the question. I've posed that as well to Ryan. I'm like, Ryan, what happens if they regress? What happens if they go backwards? What happens if you get the Detroit Lion build you up and then drop you on your ass or drop you on your face? I just don't see them going back. Like, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have set up the structural integrity of this team too well. And you got guys, you see the guys that are coming into the Detroit Lions, just look at their press conferences. Look how excited they are. Those guys want to come work. David Montgomery said, I'm ready to work. I'm ready to get after it. Cam Sutton said the same thing. Mosley said he's here to prove himself. Like, when you see that type of energy, I can't see it going backwards.
And I'll tell you what, it is good to know that Braylon Edwards, you are stoked, not scared. You are part of the club, and 100%. I appreciate that. You just confirmed that with your comments. Coming up next, there's a certain quarterback who is visiting with the Detroit Lions, a name that you guys all know and is very, very intriguing.
He's from the Big Ten.
We're going to talk about that, but first, I have to tell you about Custom Health Centers. Are you feeling tired, depressed, or unmotivated? Low sex drive, muscle loss, or belly fat? Testosterone optimization therapy is safe and is a safe and effective way to restore your vitality, confidence, and performance and reduce heart disease. Visit CustomHealthCenters.com today. That's CustomHealthCenters.com.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan.
Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals in town. Plus, they will beat all competitors by $5. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans. Your vitamin D headquarters.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
3 NBA championships. Detroit fans were there. 11 Stanley Cups. Detroit fans were there. 4 World Series wins. Detroit fans were there. And that one Lions playoff win in 1991. Yeah, Detroit fans were there. Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
And welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam filling in for Ryan Ermanni. We got Braylon Edwards, JB Smooth, Fletch on the 1s and 2s. And the quarterback that I mentioned, that I teased coming into the break, that is meeting with the Detroit Lions, of course, is one CJ Stroud, one of the top quarterback prospects, one of the top prospects, period, in the upcoming 2023 NFL draft. And there are a lot of ways to look at it. The way that it was posed in the handy-dandy rundown that I have in front of me is, what is the point of the Lions meeting with CJ Stroud? And on the surface, it does kind of seem, I wouldn't say odd, but you don't think that CJ Stroud is going to be there for the Lions to take at 6. But on the other hand, there's been some noise about the Lions maybe trading up to 3. So, Braylon, what is the point of the Lions meeting with CJ Stroud?
Well, the point is, we've been having this conversation for a very long time. Is Jared Goff the answer? Like, this is a conversation we've had just as soon as last week, just as soon as last month. Just as soon as the season was over against the Green Bay Packers, and when that game was over, boom, what do we do now? All last season. Definitely when he first got here. Definitely after that season. So it's been a question that's been posed a lot, and obviously Jared Goff responded well last year, way beyond expectations, and we know that. But at the same time, this is just like fans, just like analysts, just like everybody changes their mind on who they might like. How many players have you seen mocked to the Detroit Lions since January? You've seen probably upwards of 10 to 12 to 13 players. I ain't going to say that many, but you've seen upwards of 10 to 12 players mocked to the Detroit Lions. So now the Detroit Lions, they have to do their due diligence. As you get closer to the draft, you fall in and out of love with players. You're looking, you're like, well, you know what? Damn, are we sure? Let's just say they have a pick in their mind. Are we sure it's this guy? Are we sure we're good enough with this guy? Should we not take another check at this guy? Are we absolutely positively sure that the move is staying at 6 and getting Jalen Carter? Are we positive that staying at 6, Will Anderson falls to us? Are we positive, or do we need to move up? Are we cool with Tyree Wilson? Is that a pick we're good with? Are we good with Christian Gonzalez? If we pick him at 6, is he really the pick for us at 6? So I think right now you're just doing your due diligence. This is what smart teams do. Look, hey, you know what? I need to figure out, maybe we go the quarterback route, because at the end of the day, in 2 years, this might be our guy. So if this is our guy. So you got to do your due diligence. And when you do your due diligence, you'll have a safer aim when you're looking at those picks on the board come draft night, or come the night before the draft, when you're really looking at your big board. You're doing your due diligence. Jared
Goff, of course, is an enigma. He's somebody that I've defended, especially for how good he was last year. He definitely had a Pro Bowl-worthy season. He was arguably the second-best quarterback in the NFC, and he got a Pro Bowl nod as an alternate, but he should have just made it, period. But
it was just a tough year in the NFC, because you're going to put him over Jalen?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, you got Jalen.
Geno Smith.
You can't put him over Geno. Geno beat him.
But I would have put him over Kirk Cousins, for the record.
13-4?
I understand that, but Kirk Cousins also had some of his worst statistical, when we talk about passer rating, stuff like that, since he became a starter.
I can see that. It's just they were 13-4, and I think that was more punishment for them not making the playoffs. Because I think if somehow they would have got in, I think he might have jumped over Kirk. My apologies.
And that's fair. But the thing about Jared Goff is we don't know if he's the long-term issue. He's only cheap and under contract for the next 2 years. And when we're talking about CJ Stroud is arguably the best quarterback prospect in this draft. I have him at number 2, but CJ Stroud certainly has all of the talent. But you gave you a look.
Yeah, I gave you a look. Bryce Stroud was number 1 and ain't even close.
But you know what? Bryce Young is my number 1 too, but
Yeah.
I would say C.J. Stroud is a comfortable second best prospect in this upcoming draft.
There's a reason why the Carolina Panthers moved up to get the number 1 pick. They didn't move up to get C.J. Stroud, who you're trying to figure out is he a good enough quarterback. They didn't move up for Will Levis, Mr. Let me work yourself out. They moved up for a guy that was number 1 coming out of high school, that was number 1 in the NFL, that won the Heisman, that won the national championship, and should have almost won another one if our guy number 9, soon to be number 1, didn't get hurt. They moved up to get Bryce Young. Bryce Stroud.
You know what? I'll tell you what,
Blew
though.
that one.
C.J. Stroud, as great as Bryce Young was, C.J. Stroud was a Heisman finalist twice. He did have 88 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in his last 2 years. Finalist
or winner.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that C.J. Stroud is the end-all, be-all, but when we're talking about him falling to 6, that is very, very unlikely.
Yeah.
But things happen in the draft all the time, and if the Lions do decide to move up to 3 and maybe the Houston Texans surprise everyone and take someone like Will Anderson, maybe C.J. Stroud is a viable pick. A quarterback on a rookie deal that could end up taking the Lions to even another stratosphere after Jared Goff is gone. It's not outside of the realm of possibilities. Is it necessarily what I would do? Yeah. I don't know. But C.J. Stroud should be on the table, and they should at least do their due diligence, as you said.
The Arizona Cardinals are in the worst position that they could possibly be in. One, because the Bidwells suck as an ownership. They do not know how to pick players. They don't know how to choose players. They don't know how to take care of players. They're cheap, the whole 9 yards, so they suck. They're in a great spot. Everybody wants that third spot because you can pretty much get the player you want. Because everybody in that top 6 or top 10, they got 3 players on that list that they want. They'll take any one of them. It's 3 players. They'll take any one of them. They want maybe one certain more, but that third spot is perfect. Arizona's going to muck it up. They already got a quarterback. Like, this should be a perfect time for them to give somebody the spot for whatever they want, a king's ransom. Watch the Arizona Cardinals blow this move because they're the Arizona Cardinals.
Because of the Arizona Cardinals, and they can't have nice things.
They want nice things. Just draft Will Anderson Jr. and get it over with. But watch they don't do that.
Well, that's the thing. We're talking about the Arizona Cardinals as a team that needs pieces, but you could also get the probably number 1 prospect in the draft and basically solidify your number 1 pass rusher for the next decade or so.
Yeah, they're trying to do something stupid. They'll probably sell the 3rd pick for a bunch of 3rd-round picks and draft nobody. I just know it. I know the Cardinals going to do something crazy.
Well, and for the record, I wouldn't want the Lions to trade up for C.J. Stroud. I'd be okay if they traded up and got Will Anderson. But if he fell to 6, which I don't think is going to happen, it wouldn't bother me at all. My problem with them trading up to number 3, I think that they have a good enough roster, and their window is open right now to, if you trade up that high, you want somebody that can be an impact player on the team this upcoming season, a la Aiden Hutchinson, or who was the number 2 overall.
So you're saying C.J. Stroud is an impact player this year, but you're saying Will Anderson Jr. is.
Will Anderson, Will Anderson Jr.
I was lost there for a second.
Will Anderson Jr. might come in and be the best defensive player on the team, and somehow that the Lions could draft. Even above Aiden Hutchinson.
What do you mean even above? He was ranked above Aiden Hutchinson.
But Aiden Hutchinson, as much as I think Will Anderson was a better prospect, was a much better college player, Aiden Hutchinson is proven he did have a damn good rookie year. And as we all know, I think Will Anderson is as close to a can't miss as possible, but there's no such thing. Anything can happen.
I think the good thing about Aiden, I think another thing that people forget about, even yesterday we were kind of like, throwing some stuff back around, talking about Aiden and being on the same side as Will Anderson, or being on the same line as Will Anderson and Aleem and Isaiah Buggs. I think we all got excited. I think the one thing we forget about with Aiden is Aiden didn't really start playing to his like when I say start playing, he didn't ball out in Michigan as a freshman. He didn't ball out in Michigan as a sophomore. He didn't ball out in Michigan as a junior. It was his senior year. It was his last year where he started to take on the mantle as a damn good pass rusher. So last year, I'm looking at it this way, last year was only like his 2nd year in being a damn good pass rusher. So what I'm getting at is Aiden's learning on the fly, and Aiden I think is only going to get better this season and next year because he's really still a new great defensive talent.
Well, and better for Aiden Hutchinson might include Pro Bowls and All Pros, which is what you draft him number 2 overall for. And I I think that's interesting that you mentioned that.
He's just in the tough division.
Absolutely.
I mean, tough conference, I should say.
Oh yeah, like the Nick Bosa.
Because you got Nick Bosa. You got Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Then you have Hassan Reddick, who had 16 and a half sacks last year. So you're just in a tough side of Aiden's. Like, we'll find out how good Aiden can be because if we hear he got announced as All-Pro, That means Aiden Hutchinson had upwards of 17 sacks, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be battling for Pro Bowls and All Pros with like a Chase Young too. He's another one that's up and coming. But it's funny that you mentioned that about Aiden Hutchinson, because people do forget that. In 2019, I think he had 4.5 sacks. He was good. We all recognize that he was talented. But then the COVID season, he got hurt. It was basically a lost year.
Right.
Period. 2021, that's when we were all like, wow, this guy is. Especially, and he solidified that, of course, with that dominant performance against Ohio State, where he had 3 sacks, like 15 quarterback pressures. Maybe you are way too kind for that one. But who was the quarterback that Aiden Hutchinson harassed that whole day? One C.J. Stroud, who we started the conversation with. Just imagine if he joins the Lions as now his teammate.
That'd be funny. But, hey, man, remember? Oh, and then that joke was cracked. Remember how awkward that joke was that Desmond Howard cracked in the midst of C.J. Stroud and Aiden Hutchinson? That would be a funny moment. Talking about a full circle moment.
Well, and the thing about C.J. Stroud, too, is one of the biggest question marks about him in college up until his last game was he didn't always look his best against Michigan. I mean, the first game, I give him a little bit of a pass because Hutchinson and Ojabo were all over him, and he still played well. Yeah. He put up, almost 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. The one this past year where they were home, I thought that he didn't show up and play to his level. But when he did do that was in the college football playoff when he gave Georgia 4 touchdowns, no picks, and led the game, what should have been the game-winning drive, and their kicker missed a field goal. So C.J. Stroud, to me, he is one of the.
Pass that to you.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Oh, we got an asterisk.
Hold
on this
that.
one.
That's 2 L's for C.J. Stroud against Michigan. Go ahead and hold that real quick.
And you know what?
Hold that.
Nobody is happier about that than me, except maybe you, because those are 2.
I'm definitely. I took a lot of punishment for the Ohio State years, man. A lot of money to my bank account.
Oh yeah, it was looking pretty rough.
Sorry, Mom.
Watching all those games was terrible, but the last 2 years, and it's funny that one of the best quarterbacks in Ohio State history just happens to be 0-2 against Michigan. I think if C.J. Stroud would have led Ohio State to victories over Michigan, which obviously didn't happen, they weren't even really close in both games, I think he would be talked about as the best quarterback in school history, but he didn't. Yeah, I mean, and they didn't.
And the one thing too, before we hit break, the one thing too is, I looked at that too, because you got to look at the game. You look at the stats, they tell a different story. So now C.J. Stroud, that first year, to what you're saying, I give a little pushback too, because he had a damn good game. He still had 354 yards passing. I think he had 2 touchdowns, 2 amazing catches, by the way. 1 Jackson Smith and Jigba, 1 to Garrett Wilson. Great game, but then he couldn't get it done in the last part of the game, and that's kind of where you're like, This past game, though, he did everything in the first half. So his 302 touchdowns, that's all first half. What he looked like in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, he looked like a guy that was unsure, a guy that didn't know where his targets were, a guy that was like, oh, man, now that's on me finally. It's not on Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson. It's not on a bevy of wide receivers going in the first round. I got to make the play. Oh, man, I saw a guy that looked like a deer in headlights and fumbled the ball in the red zone. So that gave me cause to pause. But that Georgia game, I don't like State, but I like what I saw of C.J. Stroud in that Georgia game.
Well, that's the thing. He almost gave me a horrifying moment of watching Ohio State
win the national championship.
They would have absolutely won the national championship.
They would have beat
the hell out of TCU.
That's why I told Ryan. Ryan's always like, hey, I want Ohio State to win every game up until Michigan, and then it's 12-0 versus 12-0. I said 11-0 versus 11-0. I said you're a damn fool, because if they sneak in, and then what happened? They almost snuck in and snuck a championship.
I agree with you 100%.
Nah, they need to lose one always.
I want Ohio State to lose every game that
I want them to be highly ranked. Like, I want them in the 7, a 8, a 5. I don't want them to be undefeated. Like, I want them to have 1 loss always.
I mean, Michigan, they went into Columbus, basically curb stomped them by 22, and Ohio State
and then lost to TCU.
Ohio State, they then lost to TCU.
Man,
one of the worst losses ever.
Now my feelings is hurt, man. Now I'm mad. Now I'm right back in January.
Well, yeah, I know. Never forget about that game, Michigan fans, because that was one of the biggest missed opportunities in school history. And
kind of like Michigan State in this past tournament.
Oh. I don't know. I think the Michigan one might have been even worse.
It's called a distraction, man. I'm trying to distract you. I'm trying to move you over here, man.
All right.
Chicanery.
Fair enough. Well, I'll distract myself with some Fairway Packing, of course. Looking for a way to elevate dinner? Choose Fairway Packing Company, family owned and operated since 1956. Try their Burrata Blend burgers, award-winning Chop House steaks, or impress your friends with a dry-aged Wagyu Tomahawk steak. See why the top chefs in the country choose Fairway. Visit their steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods or order online to ship anywhere. Visit fairwaypacking.com for more details. Fairway Packing Company, source, cut, aged, packed to perfection.
Saturdays at 1 p.m. Make sure you're watching WoodwardSports.com for our new show, Chompin' Puck.
He shoots! He scores!
With four-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty and Michael Gentry, Chompin' Puck is taking the Detroit hockey community and giving them a voice. Pros to Joes. You'll get the best Detroit hockey coverage around. Chompin' Puck. Saturdays 1 p.m. on WoodwardSports.com.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Get a shot up. This is for the win.
All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome back. So we are still dealing with the fallout when it comes to the Jeff Okudah trade, which I think is a positive fallout, but there's a fallout from the Jeff Okudah era that I think stings worse than we even know at that point, because the Lions passed up on some dudes. They passed on. Look at this list of people that they passed up on. They passed up on Justin Herbert, who had 94 touchdown passes in his first 3 seasons, which is second in a player's first 3 seasons, to Dan Marino, who in his second year had 48. They passed on Derek Brown, who's a damn good, not great, but good interior lineman who's good against the run, who the Lions could have really used last year when Carolina was running up and down the field.
Oh, man,
and when when Rashad Penny was running up and down the field. They passed on Tristan Wirfs, who's one of the best tackles in the game.
Oh, who's Tristan Wirfs? He's just only the guy that blocked for Tom Brady when they won the Super Bowl. Hello.
Absolutely. They passed on CeeDee Lamb, who's one of the, I would say, a second-tier wide receiver, 2,000-yard seasons, 2 Pro Bowls. And they passed on Justin Jefferson, who is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. And that's what I'm saying. It's not just that they drafted Jeff Okudah and he was a bust. They drafted Jeff Okudah and passed on those guys. And I want people to remember this. This isn't a time to necessarily slander Jeff Okudah. I hope he does well in Atlanta. But that was a bad pick. That was on par with some of the worst picks in Lions history. It's just by the numbers. Look at who they passed up.
You know what happens here, and this is why I'm also happy that the trade was made. We got a 5th-round pick. We know the mad scientist, a.k.a. Big Bad Brad. He's going to make something happen with that 5th-round pick. Jeff Okudah is allowed to get to Atlanta. New scenery, new air. Get it going. Try to get the NFL career started. Because when you look at this list, as a Detroit Lions fan, you will always look at number 1, and you know what you would think? Damn, you could have been Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Damn, you could have been Tristan Wirfs. Damn, you could have been CeeDee Lamb. Damn, you could have been Justin Jefferson. And that's just not going to be fair for him, because that's how you're going to look at it, rightfully so, because the Lions and Quinn Trisha, they dropped the ball on that. That's how you're always going to look at him. It's no different than in 98 when you look at Terry Fair, all you can see is who? Randy Moss. Like, when you look at Terry Fair, it's like, yeah, that's Randy Moss right there. Like, I'm sorry, Terry Fair was a decent DB. Actually, he made the Pro Bowl as a kick returner, specialist, if I'm not mistaken. He was an okay DB, probably a number 2 at best. He was an okay player. He ain't no Randy Moss. And that's how you would look at Jeff Okudah. So it's good that we got the 5th round for him. A lot of people wanted more than that. How you going to get more than that? You know, he was injured 2 years. You look at last year, he had a bad second half when everybody else on defense had a pretty good second half. You're not going to get more than the 5th. And Big Bad Brad, the mad scientist, he knows what to do with 5th-round picks.
Well, and that's the thing. Brad Holmes is making up for it. He made up for it not only with 2 straight drafts of great draft picks, but also getting a 5th-round pick for him. And when we talk about Justin Herbert, because a lot of people might say that, hey, they got Goff. They're fine at quarterback, at least for now. But we're talking about Justin Herbert, who is an all-time talent. He's one. I think he has the potential to be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And you have him on a rookie. You would have had him on a rookie deal, which is one of the most valuable things you can have.
Can I say this about the Justin Herbert? I'm on your team on that.
Okay.
Justin Herbert had 5,000 yards as a rookie quarterback. Let that sink in.
To get 38 touchdowns or something like that.
38 touchdowns. Let that sink in. And that offensive coordinator was trash. Like all his offensive coordinators have been horrible. If Brandon Staley wasn't his head coach, We be talking about Justin Herbert a lot different. Brandon Staley is almost sabotaging Justin Herbert, much like Shohei Ohtani for you with the Angels.
Well, and there's other people on that list that
injuries.
Well, yeah, and I know that we talk about their Lions offensive line as their strength, but even Tristan Wirfs, if you put him on this offensive line, he's the best player on the offensive line.
Not even close.
If you put Justin Jefferson on this wide receiving core, he's their best wide receiver. You put CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is one of the few NFC receivers that I think is definitively better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, with all due respect to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Got a lot better last year, too.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb broke out last year.
I don't understand why people keep saying, like, I mean, I know he's not a number one. Like, what the hell do you think CeeDee Lamb is? CeeDee Lamb is the definition of a number one. I think getting rid of Amari Cooper early kind of messed it up because they could have transitioned a little smoother into him being number one. But last year, you talking about the last 8 weeks, he came on strong for the Dallas Cowboys.
CeeDee Lamb is going to put up better numbers in his career than Dez Bryant did.
Yeah,
I'm looking that right now. So
it's a different era, too.
That is a different era, but that is a number one wide receiver. But there's another team in their same division that made a similar mistake, which I think is even more damaging. Look what the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky second overall, I believe in 2017.
Oh, this is pathetic.
They drafted Mitchell Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback ever, at least on the trajectory. Deshaun Watson was on the trajectory to be in a top 3 to 5 quarterback. Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the NFL, multiple-time Pro Bowler, 1,000-yard rushing and receiving season, one of the most complete running backs. You got T.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year, tied the all-time single-season sack record. You got Hassan Reddick, who you mentioned before, 16.5 sacks last season, and 3 double-digit sack seasons, and Jonathan Allen, who's one of the more dominant interior defensive linemen in the NFL. So it's not just the Lions who have done this, but this just goes to show what damage a bad top 3 pick can do, especially with the Bears. They traded up for him, and they directly cost themselves a chance at Patrick. Well, they didn't really cost themselves a chance, but they passed up on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson for Mitch freaking Trubisky.
All right, so I got a lot to say about this. Yes, the Lions aren't the only idiots in NFC North. The Chicago Bears are idiots as well, who always go defense. Meanwhile, their offense is terrible. Do you know the Chicago Bears offense is average in terms of the yards? What is it? Where's my notes on that? I'll come back to that. I want to talk about this. Not only did they move up, they moved up to select the quarterback. That one doesn't win. He didn't win in North Carolina. Average at North Carolina. They moved up when the 49ers were going to draft Solomon Thomas anyway. They didn't even have to move up. They moved up one pick. They moved from 3 to 4, or from 3 to 2 to draft Mitchell Trubisky, an unproven quarterback who did not win in college. You know my theory, Fletch, about college. You got to win in college to win in the NFL. So not only did they move up one pick, who the 49ers would take Solomon Thomas, they draft Mitchell Trubisky. Not only are these guys ahead of him and better, Patrick Mahomes, 2 Super Bowl championships. Deshaun Watson made an AFC championship, I think his second year in the league. CMC, he was just in the NFC championship last year. He won. He was Offensive Player of the Year twice, I believe. T.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year last year. Hassan Reddick finished third runner-up, second runner-up to who this year? Who won it this year?
Well, Nick Bosa won
Nick won this year. I want to say Chris Jones was second. Hassan Reddick was third. And Jonathan Allen's played. Like, these are players that they missed out on. These aren't just good players. These are players that are on a trajectory of what? Hall of Fame and greatness. The Bears and the Lions, man. Well, at least the Lions seem to get it now. The Bears, good luck.
Well, that's the thing. I know that the Lions made up for it and are going to continue to make up for it. I don't know about the Bears.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Poles, he had a lot of cap space in this past offseason.
He did a lot, too. He spent a lot of cash.
He did. Tremaine Edmonds, T.J. Edwards. He got some players. But you're right about the Bears. The Bears, their ethos seems to, they want to be the team with like Dick Butkus and Brian Urlacher and Mike Singletary in the modern NFL. Speaking of franchises that have never had a good quarterback.
Oh my God. Their best quarterback ever is it's Jay Cutler or Jim McMahon, who played 4 years, or Jim Harbaugh.
No love for Sid Luckman, huh?
You're taking it back to 1960, but I'm saying you got to go that far back. Can we stop allowing the Chicago Bears and their fan base to act that way for one Super Bowl win? I understand we haven't been there. I understand the Lions haven't won it. But can we be real? The Bears have been riding that 1984 Super Bowl win for the my whole life. Like, they act like they was in it last year. Like, every year. They made, what, one Super Bowl after that? 2006
yeah,
with
that was the
Rex Grossman. Like, they get on my nerves riding that one Super Bowl. Like, look, y'all did that very, 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 very long time ago. What have you done for me lately?
Well, and to be fair, it was one of the best defenses in NFL history, arguably the best defense in NFL history.
It was 35 years ago.
Well, that's the thing. It was a different NFL. You can't win in the modern NFL with just a dominant defense. The last dominant defense was probably 2015 Broncos, the team that carried Peyton Manning to the Super Bowl. That was a DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller, Chris Harris,
that
Aqib
offense was on. But see, the difference with that team, that's a tricky team because that offense was on fire for the first 11 games in that year, and then they turned into more of a defensive team. But they were on fire offensively probably about the first 11 weeks, 13 weeks.
And that's fair. And that Bears team, to be fair, they had Walter Payton at running back. It was a damn good team, but they never became
Seattle. There you go.
Seattle was a great one. The Legion of Boom, the team that was
beat Denver.
They did beat Denver. They didn't just beat Denver.
Destroyed.
They allowed a Peyton Manning-led offense, which broke all kinds of records, to 8 points.
Was it 42-8?
It's 43-8.
43-8.
I know that score. It's ingrained in me because I was rooting for the Broncos hard because I'm a Peyton Manning fan.
Oh, you got your feelings hurt that day.
That was the year where he 55 touchdown passes.
I remember the first game. It was like 8 touchdowns. He broke the record. I think he threw the last one. It was a screen to Demaryius Thomas. Rest in peace.
It was against the Ravens, I believe. It was the opening night of the NFL season, I believe. And after that game, I was thinking he might actually do this.
NFL played. You know what? I do remember. You're absolutely right. NFL played the Ravens that day. Because remember, that was the year the Ravens won a Super Bowl. But then they had to travel to Denver to open up the season.
That's right.
Don't when you win a Super Bowl, you should technically get that first game at home.
You should definitely get that first game.
They had to go to Denver to play against newly acquired Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning went the F off.
He went the F off. And the only team that could stop him this year was one of the most dominant defensive teams of my lifetime, the Legion of Boom. But like I said, the point of all this is that the Bears, I don't know if they're going to learn from their mistakes. The Lions, though, we look at the era of Bob Quinn where they drafted guys like Jeff Okudah at 3 overall. We look at that as almost a relic of the past, like they're fossils. It was not that long ago. It just shows how much faith that has been restored, how great Brad Holmes has done at drafting in just his first couple of years. We're already talking about him as the best GM in Lions history.
Because he is, and that ain't even up for debate. And I use aim for effect. The one thing you think about with the Bears, it's never been able to be said about the Detroit Lions is, I look at how Brad Holmes has built the Detroit Lions, and I look at what Ryan Poles is doing with the Bears, and I don't trust that process because I see how this is working, and I see why this is working. They got a lot of players that they picked up in the free agency. They spent a lot of money that they had. They started off with $98 million in cap space. I think they're down to like 30. They're down. They're way down there now, and I just don't know if spending all that money that fast is sustainable. But once again, I'm speaking as a Brad Holmes clone.
Yeah, $18 million a year for Tremaine Edmonds. I like Tremaine Edmonds a lot, but that was a little bit of a head scratcher. Ryan Poles, it might work out, but I don't know if he fundamentally reshaped the team. You could argue that the Lions had more impactful free agency signings than the Bears, and the Lions had like a third of the cap space.
Because you got to look at what the Bears did this year. Because the Bears were bad last year and the year before that too, like the Lions, but they were just abysmal this year. And so they essentially are starting, from jump. This is basically their year 2. So I'm kind of looking at it, Justin Fields last year. I'm looking how bad they were last year and the year before. So this is year 3 for Justin Fields. So this is year 3 for Dan Campbell. So I'm looking at the Lions and I'm looking at the Bears. I'm like, they ain't even close.
No, at this point, no. The Lions are, I would say, the clear. In terms of up-and-coming teams, I think they're the class of the NFC North. I know you respect Minnesota more than I do, but that's okay. It will play out.
I still think the Lions are going to win. I'm just saying, when we talk about the Vikings, when we talk about the NFC, don't just forget about the Vikings. Because the Lions have been splitting with the Vikings for the past 40 years. So I said, don't forget about them going 13-4 last year. Don't forget about Brian Flores being the defensive coordinator now for the Minnesota Vikings. And they also had a lot of injuries last year. They're going to get some players back. I just said don't forget about the Vikings. But I still like the Lions to win the division.
And that is fair. If I'm looking for a place to go to lunch, I obviously go to Cousins Maine Lobster. Woodward Sports is brought to you by Cousins Maine Lobster Detroit. Check out their food trucks rolling around the city offering the tastiest lobster rolls, lobster tacos, and more. Go to cousinsmainelobster.com and search locations to find the Detroit schedule or download the app to order ahead and earn points. It's Cousins Maine Lobster.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you, one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Let one of our talented, award-winning stylists make you look handsome and clean. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, it's wicked awesome.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Cruising into the second hour on Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam. I got Braylon and Edwards to my right. I've got JV Smooth in the sound booth and Fletch on the 1s and 2s in the technical director booth. And if you can't watch the show live, please be sure to check out the podcast. Rate it, give it a 5-star review. It's available on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that you can get your podcasts. So, the Houston Texans, they're obviously taking a quarterback, right? I think that it's as big of a slam dunk as possible, but there are some rumors that maybe they won't take a quarterback. To me, it's a no-brainer. You got the 2nd overall pick. You get whoever's left of Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. You're coming off of a year with Davis Mills. You're a franchise whose best quarterback, Deshaun Watson, asked for a trade. Your second best quarterback is Matt Schaub. They need a quarterback. You can't go another year with like a Davis Mills or whoever the hell they have. But as Braylon has said before, it could just be a smokescreen. There's all kind of games going on, gamesmanship when it comes to GMs and the draft. So the Texans might not take a QB. How much stock do you look into this?
I put some stock in it. I definitely put some stock in it. You look at it from this standpoint. DeMeco Ryans, linebacker, he gets drafted, has an excellent career as a linebacker with the Houston Texans. He becomes an excellent coordinator for the 49ers. Defense is his strong suit. Defense is where he's comfortable. Not to mention, you're talking about the chance of coaching one of the best defensive players as a rookie prospect in a very long time, and Will Anderson Jr., and even Jalen Carter. Like Jalen Carter, talked about being the #1 talent at one point, and maybe even still to this point in the draft. You're talking about some records. Wouldn't he get excited over that? Look, I've made this clear very, very much a bunch. If your quarterback ain't there and you don't feel comfortable with a guy, you just don't force the situation. Like a lot of guys are just like, because a guy is there, well, if it's not Bryce Young, well, give me C.J. Stroud. If it's not C.J. Stroud, hell, Will Levis is there. Hey, where's Anthony Richardson? Like, you don't just get a guy because a guy is there. You got to feel safe with a guy. You got to feel like this is the guy of the future. This is the guy I want to build this is his regime. Like, this is what I want to build my regime on. Hey, this is what I see. Hey, you know what? I got a really good feeling about C.J. Stroud. This is a really good. If you feel like that, then cool. But if you're in meetings and you're like, I just still don't see it. And then you put on Will Levis and you're like, I just still don't see it. And you don't want to take the chance on Anthony Richardson. You're looking at Will Anderson Jr. You look at Davis Mills can be good enough maybe to get through another year, and then maybe you try this again next year. Because also you don't have to go in the draft to get your quarterback. There are quarterbacks being had. Look at what the Saints did. You know what I'm saying? Look at what Seattle did. I'm not saying go to Geno Smith route, but there's ways to move and get quarterbacks. Tom Brady. You see what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. You just never know. If your quarterback's not there, but you know a guy is right there that has the potential to be a gold jacket guy, and you're still trying to get your defense good, that was terrible last year. If your guy's not there, quarterback, but there's a gold jacket guy there, I don't have a problem with them passing in that mindset. Say, look, we want a Bryce Young. Bryce Young's gone. We just not sold on C.J. Stroud. I'm cool on Levis and Richardson, but Will Anderson Jr., he's a game record that has a chance to get a gold jacket. I'm cool with that pick, and I can see that happening.
Well, yeah, and Will Anderson Jr. to me is the type of guy who can develop into a gold jacket guy. One of the better NFL-ready prospects that I've seen. The question that I have, and I've kind of asked myself, and I'll pose this to you, Braylon, is what does this mean for the Detroit Lions? Because what this means to me as a Lions fan is that my dream of getting Will Anderson is done. That means that no matter what the Lions do, whether they want to trade up to 3, whether they want to stand pat at 6, Will Anderson would be gone. And if that's the move, if Will Anderson is not there, I see no reason why the Detroit Lions would want to trade up to 3, because when you trade up to 3, you're going to have to give up something else. You might have to give up 18. You might have to give up whatever, second-round picks, next year's picks. I wouldn't want to deplete those to get somebody who might not even contribute for your team. That would be being a quarterback. And there's definitely not another defensive player at 3 that I would be as excited about as Will Anderson. Although Jalen Carter comes close, but I think the Lions will be able to get him at 6 and stand pat.
Yeah, I think based on everything that I've heard, based on everything that's been said, I mean, unless Seattle takes Jalen Carter at 5, I think Jalen Carter will fall to you. So I don't think that's a guy that you necessarily need. That's not a guy you need to move up to go get. Everything we've seen is seeing him falling unless it's Seattle. Will Anderson Jr. is the only player I'm moving up to go and get. Will Anderson Jr. is the guy. He's back on the board. He's back on the radar. He's back in my line of sight in terms of what he did 2 years ago, in terms of what he was able to do. Even last year, I saw him play last year. The numbers weren't there last year, but the skill and the gameplay still were there this past season. So, I mean, I'm still getting excited. You're talking about putting Aiden Hutchinson on one side, Will Anderson Jr. on another side. You're talking about putting Liam McNeil and Bugs in the middle. It's damn exciting. And then what they've done with the secondary with Mosley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, with Sutton on one side. This is going to be an amazing defense. It'll be fun to watch. If you can get Will Anderson Jr. on that other side, man, he becomes like that Micah Parsons, the guy that can play Mike linebacker, the guy that can move the outside linebacker, the guy that can rush, the guy that can drop in coverage. He can check the Jerry Kittles of the world, the George Kittles of the world, He can check the Travis Kelce's to a certain extent. He can check some of these wide receivers, these bigger guys. So you get a guy like that, I'm excited for the chance of that. I think this could be that Jameson Williams. I mean, hey, Jameson Williams went to Alabama. Will Anderson Jr. go to Alabama, so maybe this is Brad Holmes' move up of this year. It's moving up to get Will Anderson Jr. if he doesn't go to the Texans.
Well, it's funny what you mentioned about Will Anderson. His numbers took a little bit of a step back in 2022 for him.
Yeah, for him. Excuse me, for him.
I mean, Will Anderson had such a standard in 2021, which is arguably one of the top 3 to 5, maybe even 1 to 3 edge rusher seasons by a college player ever. I think of Terrell Suggs as maybe number 1, but
Terrell Suggs was 21 and a half.
Terrell Suggs was.
I think it's 22.
Unbelievable. But
Chase Young had 18.5.
That's true, but Will Anderson had 17.5 and 31 tackles for loss, which is amazing. He stepped back to 10 in 2022. Man, like any other defensive end would kill for that, but Will Anderson, that was
you go from 17 to 10 though, man. That's a big drop.
That is a big. He wasn't.
It's still a damn good year, but 17-10 is a big drop.
He wasn't quite what he was the year before,
and that's why his draft stock. Because tell me this: if Will Anderson Jr. had 17 sacks last year, is he number 1 regardless? Well, obviously, Bryce Young would still. Carolina still needs a quarterback, but is he 2? Obviously, 17 sacks.
That's a tough one because we're talking about how he might be 2 anyway, even with the season he had last year, and Houston might pass on a quarterback. But think about this. Houston, they have their left tackle, Laramie Tunsil.
Laramie Tunsil just got paid, broke the record once again.
They damn sure don't have a quarterback. But when you're talking about winning in the NFL, you want to protect the quarterback, get after the quarterback, and have a great quarterback. If you get Will Anderson Jr., you presumably have 2 of the 3. You got Laramie Tunsil protecting the blind side. You've got a potentially dominant top 5 to 10 edge rusher in the NFL, like immediately within the next few years. Maybe that would be smart for the Texans to do. It would just not make me very happy because when you see those Mel Kiper mocks of him falling to 6 for the Lions, I got pretty excited. But maybe this tells me that that's not as realistic. But it wasn't just like Flannel Sam in his basement giving that mock. It was Mel Kiper, so I maybe got a little bit too excited. Maybe it won't happen though. There's a lot of great players there. Jalen Carter excites me, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're looking at that situation, talking about the Detroit, or talking about Arizona Cardinals, or talking about the Texans. Look, next year, who's the quarterback? It's going to be Caleb Williams. It's going to be Drake May. Drake May out of UNC, and it's going to be Caleb Williams out of USC. So those will be the 2. You look at where the Texans are this year, AFC South. Colts are going to be much better this year. The Texans are going to be we're talking about the Texans. The Titans, we don't know what's going to go on with the Titans. And then obviously Jacksonville Jaguars should win that division yet again. I can see Texans like, hey, look, just take a chance next year. Like, he signed a 6-year deal. I don't see them getting rid of him, much like the Dan Campbell situation, 3 years, although he got touch and go year 2 early for Dan Campbell. I don't see them getting rid of him, so he's like, hey, you know what? if we don't take a quarterback this year, we could try to get one next year. Or they could take a quarterback this year, not fall in love with that quarterback, and then make another move maybe in year 3 for him. So they've got options. It's going to be interesting to see. But I could definitely see them not taking quarterback just off that.
They've got options. They've got lots of picks, and they've got lots of power. Because as we said at the beginning of this segment, you just assume that the Houston Texans are taking a quarterback based on what they had last year with Davis Mills, who obviously he's not a starter in this league. At best, he's probably a high-end backup, but they could throw a real monkey wrench into this draft. But that happens every single year. There's always a move where you're almost like, what's the right word for it? I wouldn't say shocked.
Caught off guard?
You're caught off guard. That's the perfect word for it. And that's going back to the C.J. Stroud thing. That's why you have to do your due diligence with every prospect that you could even think about drafting. You mentioned at the beginning of the show, and I thought it was very profound because I noticed it too. How many different players have been mocked to the Lions at 6?
Oh, my God.
You got
a ton.
Yeah, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson,
Skoronski, Miles Murphy,
Anthony
Brian
Richardson.
Brise at one point, Christian Gonzalez, Witherspoon at one point when they thought he was going to move up the draft, Anthony Richardson at one point when they still thought that he was going to be like 6 and up, and then he became 1 to 4. That's another guy. Trading the pick has happened. Trading up, trading down. That's 2 other ones. What other players? There's some more. There's a couple more in there. We can come up. I mean, even that right there, that's 8, including moves. So it's a lot of different people being mocked to that position.
Probably all of the top 4
Tyree
quarterbacks.
Wilson? Oh, did you say Tyree Wilson?
I'm pretty sure I said Tyree Wilson. He's the one that I think has gotten the most steam and seems to be it seems to me that at this point,
Hendon Hooker.
Maybe
I saw Hendon Hooker on one.
At 6?
I want to say I did see him on one.
Oh, dear Lord. I don't know if I would go that far, but
I would.
I'll tell you what, Hendon Hooker's a better prospect than Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, though. I will die on that hill.
Thank you.
I will die on that hill.
Nobody was talking about either one of those dudes. Thank you.
You're welcome, Fletch, for that one. But I really, really believe it. I'm not just doing you a favor. Coming up next, this is going to be a really fun segment. Me and Braylon were talking about it in the back before the show. It's a little start one, bench one, cut one.
Oh, I'm excited.
Featuring a couple NFL running backs. But first, I have to tell you about the Fulling Warehouse, where I go and loosen up my arm. Fulling Warehouse in Hamtramck is the home of the original football bowling game. 2 ways to play, $12 unlimited open play or $120 lane reservation for up to 10 people. $2 mystery beer machine and full bar. Check it out at fullingwarehouse.com.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh, wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Kroger's, and if you want to know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You can get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
You're about to be shell-shocked. The catch of the day is in. Big Boy Seafood Fest is officially back. Join us for some of your favorites like our popcorn shrimp and pike perch platters and our classic fish and chips. This year, we've reeled in some fresh catches like our shrimp Alfredo, shrimp stir fry, and our fish sandwich. And especially, don't forget about our all-you-can-eat Friday night fish fry buffet. Every day is a fish fry at Big Boy.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Now is the best time to join Planet Fitness. The gym that has always been known for being clean is now cleaner than ever. With tons of equipment, a full body workout in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. But the best part about all this, you get it all just for $10 a month.
Only $10?
Yes, guys, only $10 a month. Now, Planet Fitness has more than 50 convenient locations around the Metro Detroit area, so no matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness nearby. Join In Club today, or as always, check them out at planetfitness.com.
Welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam. The guy to my right is Braylon Edwards. We got JV Smooth in the sound booth and Fletch on the 1s and 2s. So I'm really excited about this one. Fletch, thank you for putting it on the rundown. It's start, bench, cut. That little game that you hear played from time to time involving NFL running backs, 3 of the better running backs in the NFL. We've got Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Nick Chubb. Braylon, you got to start one, cut one, bench one. What say you?
This is easy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually very easy. And actually, Flannel Sound, men and women in the chat, feel free to tell us who would you start, bench, and cut. We want to know what you guys think as well. Flannel give us some of those answers as we go through the segment. For me, it's easy. Nick Chubb, I'm going to start. I'm going to bench Josh Jacobs. I pulled a fast one on you there, Flannel Sam. I pulled a fast one on you. And then I'm going to cut Saquon Barkley. Now, why, you ask? Because I know everybody right there is about to go crazy in the chat. You got some Josh Jacobs fans that are going to be like, oh, my God, he had 1,653 last year. Oh, my God, why would you bench him? Then you're going to have some people like, what? Cut Saquon Barkley. He's so electric. He's Quadzilla. You see him jumping over players. You see him with his arm. You see the things he does. Did you watch the Washington Commanders game? I did, and that's why I cut him. The reason why I will go with Nick Chubb, he is a consummate professional, and you can trust him. Nick Chubb is going to get, every season, he is going to have 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, and his yards per carry is going to be 5.2. This is every season from year one. Here's Nick Chubb, 5 seasons, 996, 5.2 average, 8 touchdowns. Year 2, 1,500, 8 touchdowns, 5.0 average. Year 3, 1,000. He missed 4 games, ladies and gentlemen. He missed 4 games. 1,000, 12 touchdowns, though, and 5.6 yards per carry. Next season, 1,259, 8 touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry. And then 1,525 last year, 12 touchdowns. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, 5 yards per carry. To tell you how much that means, Barry Sanders averaged 5.6 yards a carry, 5.2. He's like number 1. There's only 2 running backs that have ever been over 5 points. Barry Sanders is one of them. Nick Chubb's the other. So I'm going Nick Chubb. Josh Jacobs, I look at his consistency through his 4 years in the NFL. He's played more and more games each year. Last year he played all 17. He played stupendously. We all watched that one game where he just went ape, you know what. So I will put him 2. Saquon, I love Saquon. I watched him in college. The big issue for me at Saquon is 2 things. 1, he gets hurt. Like, this is a game of the best ability, it's availability. It sucks. I play with a former player. I hate hearing that, but it is the truth. The best ability is availability, and he seems to be injured a lot. Not to mention, something that happens in New York that happens when he was at Penn State as well, he's always getting tackles for loss. I just never understood that. I watched the Indiana game. If you think I'm BSing, look at his average yard. Look at his average yards against Indiana in his 3 years. It's like 49 yards. Like, he's always getting tackles for loss. Tackles for loss. Remember the Ohio State game? He returns the kick for a touchdown. Then what happened the rest of the game?
Not
tackles for loss. Playing against Michigan, tackles for loss. He's always getting tackles for loss. It's either 2-yard gain, as you said, tackle for loss, or you get a home run. But the home runs are far and few in between anymore. So if I'm being honest, Nick Chubb is a consummate consistent. Josh Jacobs has gotten consistent. Last year was phenomenal. I love Saquon. Gotta let him go.
That's very, very astute, Braylon. Before I give mine, I got to go to my man JB, and then I'll tell you which one I agree with more. So JB, Jeremy Bryant, JB Smooth, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs. You got to start one, cut one, bench one. What say you?
I'm kind of siding with Braylon on this one. Although I am starting Nick Chubb, I'm still benching Saquon, and I got to cut Jacobs. I'm sorry. I just got to. But as you said, Braylon, Nick Chubb, he's going to go out there and get every single yard that he can. He is a dog out there. Saquon, even though he's hurt a lot in Quadzilla, but I still feel like he's a dependable running back out there. Josh Jacobs, I just don't see anything out of him. Nothing flashy, and this is not discrediting him at all. He's still an amazing running back, but there's just not anything there for me that I see him being a top tier running back. So that's just my list.
That's an interesting one. I agree. There's one person who just said their piece that I agree 100% with, and that is, of course, Braylon Edwards. I appreciate your analysis when it comes to Saquon and Josh Jacobs, but you absolutely start Nick Chubb. People forget about him. I think he gets slept on a little bit. Every single
because he's boring.
Yes.
Like in the span of this NFL today, and I'm not going to steal your take, just it's boring. Like everybody wants to see Tyreek Hill do what he did. Everyone wants to see Devontae Adams. You want to see the Justin Jefferson catch. You want to see a Lamar Jackson highlight. You want to see Saquon Barkley shake somebody and then do the hurdle and jump over. You don't want to see a boring-ass Nick Chubb just getting 5 yards a pop. You know what I'm saying? Making it 2nd and 5 and then getting the first down and maybe then getting a 10-yard break. He's boring. But you know what? Boring wins.
Every single year he has played in the NFL, he has averaged 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That is insane. It's not like he had 1 year where he averaged 5.8 and 1 year where he averaged 4.6. Every single year he has played. Nobody can wear down a defense quite like Nick Chubb, just pounding you for 4 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards. He does that better. As far as every down sort of bell cow running backs go, I put him at the top of the list.
And
I would. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, everyone gives Baker Mayfield the credit
This guy
in 2019 for taking the Cleveland Browns, who hadn't been to the playoffs since 2002, I do believe, taking them to the playoffs. You know who took them to the playoffs? It's not Baker Mayfield. It was the feet and legs of Kareem Hunt, but number one,
Nick Chubb.
There he is.
It was 100% Nick Chubb. Baker Mayfield was actually more responsible for costing them 2 playoff seasons with his terrible play in 2 of his 4 years with Cleveland, and that's just a fact.
He lost to Chad Henne, who's my guy, but he lost to Chad Henne. Get out of here.
To be fair, Patrick Mahomes played some of that game, but still. I understand. That was an opportunity for them, and they blew it. And
to JB, just like with the Saquon Barkley stuff, JB, Saquon missed 3 games in 2019. He missed 15 games in 2020. He missed 4 games in 2021, and he missed 1 game last year. So for me, that's a lot of missed games. And he's a running back. Like, it's not like we're talking about a lot of missed games like a wide receiver or a DB. This is a running back. Y'all only have 7 years, 8 years, and he's already missed a lot of games in his first 5.
Yeah, he's the most injured person on this list because that's the thing.
He's so good.
Yes, Nick Chubb, as reliable as they come. Josh Jacobs is another one who rarely misses games. He's had 3,000-yard seasons. Last year, he led the entire NFL in rushing with over 1,600 yards. As much as I love Saquon Barkley, and I love watching him as a player, he's never hit the heights that even Josh Jacobs hits. He had his career high in rushing yards last season. It was, I think, 1,313 or something like that. And the thing about Saquon Barkley, for as big and as powerful, and those quads, we always talk about Quadzilla. He's really not a good between the tackles runner. He doesn't wear you down. He doesn't get just like 4 yards, 5 yards. Like we said, he'll get 2, -1, 1, 54-yard touchdown.
Yeah, like Saquon plays in the style of like Shady McCoy. Now Shady McCoy is better because of the consistency for that 10-year stretch, and then obviously it tapered off. But when you look at Shady's not going to wear you down in terms of pounding, not physically wear you down. Like when I think of Nick Chubb, I'm thinking of Jerome Bettis in his prime. I'm thinking of Jamal Lewis with the Baltimore Ravens in his prime. I'm thinking of Corey Dillon when Corey Dillon was with the Cincinnati Bengals. But better than all of them.
Oh, yeah, better than all of them. Certainly better than Jerome Bettis.
Yeah. Hey, watch your mouth.
I'm not a Jerome Bettis fan.
Hey, first of all, this is Jerome Bettis City. This is Detroit. We're going to respect Detroiters, okay? McKenzie High School. You ain't like Jerome Bettis?
No, he had too many seasons where he had a 3 in front of his yards per carry, under 4 yards per carry.
Oh, you give him this fat ass the ball on the goal line, he's going to have a lot of those. But did you see him when he was with the Rams? Did you ever see those Jerome Bettis years?
I mean, it was a little bit before my time. I've seen some highlights, but that was probably the best version of Jerome Bettis, where he was in a little bit better shape.
There's this thing. It's called YouTube. Now what you do is you type in Jerome Bettis, St. Louis Rams, and then L.A. Rams back then.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned though that Nick Chubb is better than Jerome Bettis. He's absolutely better than Jerome Bettis.
But I can't say it on TV because he's my uncle, so I'm lying. It's Jerome Bettis.
Oh man, having a former NFL player to do a show with, I feel like if I talk bad about someone, you're like, I know
no, because I talk bad about people, so no. How could I dare say anything? You can say what you want to. No, just not about Detroiters.
It's all right. I get what you're saying though. Yeah. Nick Chubb is he's a pounder. I don't know how else to explain it.
It's physical. Like when you're a linebacker or a safety or a defensive lineman and you got to play in the box against a runner like Nick Chubb, he's gonna make you feel it every game on every play. So when the game's over, man, you're looking for ice, for shoulders, for forearms, things like that. They know how, just like guys know how to tackle quarterbacks to make it a little harder. running backs know how to run the ball so that you feel that helmet to your sternum, so that you feel that elbow they dropped in your thigh. You're going to feel it after you play Nick Chubb.
I will say this. I'm glad that all three of us agree on Nick Chubb being the one that you start, because if you polled, I think, a random group of 10 people, I think a lot of people would sleep on him.
One.
And it's just not true. It's
You know who would be number one? He's not even on the list. They find a way to say CMC. Like CMC is it would be the new kids this generation. CMC would be number one.
He played real well last year, though.
Yeah, in the 40% of the time he played,
but he was good.
No, he was the reason why Brock Purdy was allowed to be a rookie 7th rounder and have that type of success. CMC played. He played well for Brock Purdy, because you got to think Debo was hurt a lot of that.
He was.
So this wasn't something we can give Debo credit like 2 years ago. This was really CMC, and then George Kittle came on late. I give George Kittle a lot of credit. Maybe that December he played really good.
He did. And we're going to come back in just a moment. But first, I have to tell you about Alta, because at Alta, uptime matters.
It matters.
Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done, especially that ever-elusive bog project that I keep hearing about. You knew all along that the project was bog. If you have one of them, Alta Rent has you covered. Call them today at 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA.
Saturdays at 1 p.m. Make sure you're watching WoodwardSports.com for our new show, Chompin' Puck.
He shoots! He scores!
With 4-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty and Michael Gentry, Chompin' Puck is taking the Detroit hockey community and giving them a voice. Pros to Joes. You'll get the best Detroit hockey coverage around. Chompin' Puck. Saturdays 1 p.m. on WoodwardSports.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, live on the Woodward Sports Network. If you can't catch this show live, please be sure to check out the podcast, rate it, review it, listen to it. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. Check out the website. While you are here, we got tons of great merch, including the Stoke Not Scared shirts. We mentioned that earlier today in the show. One of the draft prospects that is one of the most highly rated, one that a lot of us here would like for the Lions to get, is Jalen Carter, of course. But Jalen Carter, he's visiting with the Raiders today, and the Raiders, of course, pick one after the Detroit Lions. Jalen Carter, I don't know. Do you think he gets past 6?
Yeah, I do, because I think if you're talking in the first 6 picks, the only team I think that would take him, I think, is the Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks, and I still think they're going to take Anthony Richardson, but that I can see them taking him. I can see them taking all 3 of them. I can see them taking Will Anderson as well if he's there. But I can see them taking Jalen Carter because they need a game record. They don't have that guy on the defensive line, even as an outside pass rusher. They got some guys that are okay, but that's where they're really weak, like the Detroit Lions last year. But at least we had Aiden Hutchinson. This is a spot where you can add a Jalen Carter, and it can be a home record for him. He can help you, especially with those DBs that they got last year. Tariq Woolen, most notably, guy that won, that was runner-up for Defensive Rookie Player of the Year. Obviously, Detroit's own Sauce Gardner won that award. But you can see them drafting Jalen Carter right there at 5. Outside of that, Detroit Lions, man, I don't think they draft Jalen Carter. This is not the city. This is not the team. And I understand this is a new team, but I think some things or some values of the fours I think will carry over to this Lions regime. And one of them, you know what it is, they don't like to take guys, or they don't like to bring in guys that have red in their ledger, or that have marks, or have red flags, or have anything that's going against them in a negative way to their character. This is something the Detroit Lions have never done. So with that being said, maybe Titus is the only one ever.
Titus Young.
Titus Young.
Yeah.
He's probably the only one ever, and that didn't work out for him. So I think that was hey, this is our chance. We tried, it didn't work. So I don't see the Lions picking him up. I don't see the Raiders picking him up either. I mean, if you want to go by that, you're talking about a guy that was in a situation where he was speeding at high rates, at high speeds, and then one of his teammates was there too, and his teammate killed himself, as well as a worker, a trainee staff member. This sounds eerily similar to what happened already with the Raiders and Henry Ruggs. With Henry Ruggs. So if I'm the Raiders, even though Jalen Carter is a tremendous talent, it's too much like something that's already happened. And if anything happens with Jalen Carter, you're going to have to answer some questions from fans. You're going to have to answer some questions from front office, like for your owner. It's just not worth it for the Raiders to put themselves in that situation.
Man, that was an angle that I never even thought about. And for the record, what Henry Ruggs did was worse.
Yeah,
but,
it's 100%. But at the same time, you're thinking alcohol, fast cars, and murder. Or death.
They're in a similar.
it was murder, actually.
They're in a similar family. I mean, with Henry Ruggs, it most certainly was. But the thing about the Raiders, though, is that they've consistently, especially during the Derek Carr era, and it continued on into last season, they're not good defensively. They were 7th worst in the NFL in scoring defense. And Jalen Carter's the type of guy that I think can help their team right away. But speaking of teams that were bad defensively, why would the Lions pass on him if he's available? Right? I mean, they were. Or were they 5th worst? We talk about how they were better as the season went along, but they started out so bad on the macro level. They were still a bad defense.
The Detroit Lions. Now let's look at it from a different way. The Detroit Lions are definitely more equipped to draft Jalen Carter and get him right, have him as. And I'm not even saying he's not right now, so let me not throw that out there. But they're more equipped to draft him and get him ready faster to play in the NFL, to play at the level, to kind of put his arms around him and get him ready to help him with the situation he's dealing with. I think the Lions are a team that's primed to be able to do that. Now, whether they do it or not is up to them. The Raiders, on the other hand, they've just got rid of all the players that made them the Raiders. They've tried to bring in the New England Patriots front office. They tried to make this New England Patriots West with Josh McDaniels. These are not the type of players that Belichick picks up. So I just don't think they're fit and they're conducive to be able to bring him in and allow him to have success, to be the type of players, team that he needs, type of franchise. I don't think he could thrive with the Raiders, but I do think he could thrive with the Detroit Lions. They've never taken players like this, and the one time they tried with Titus, it didn't work. I think they got burned.
I mean, he could certainly thrive with the Detroit Lions.
Hell yeah.
And obviously, Will Anderson, as I mentioned on yesterday's show, that would be my first pick. I don't know how realistic that is, but Jalen Carter, we talk about a team. To me, one of the only reasons why they weren't in the playoffs last year is because they got gashed on the ground by Carolina. And then in the game earlier on the season against Seattle, they gave up 48. They scored 45 points and lost because they gave up 48. And a lot of that damage was done on the ground by Rashad Penny. So
they also fell asleep on the last play of the game against the Buffalo Bills. But hey, who was paying attention?
Because they still, despite all the progress they made, they still had opportunities to make the playoffs, and they just didn't do it. But a Jalen Carter, if you plug him in that defensive line, those like running attacks, like the Carolina Panthers breaking their franchise record, stuff like that doesn't happen with a dominant defensive lineman like Jalen Carter. So I hope that if Will Anderson isn't available but Jalen Carter is, and the Lions pass on him, I wouldn't like that at all. And it sounds like to you that, and I kind of agree, I don't think the Raiders get him either.
No, they won't get him either. But let me explain to you how good Jalen Carter is. And let me explain to you what he would allow the Detroit line, the defensive line to do. Bugs is a damn good player. He is a leader on the team. He speaks before every game. He gets the guys going. Once you see him put on the elbow sleeve, you know Bugs means business. Aleem McNeil, he was in and out last year. He started off bad last year like everybody else. He kind of spot came on towards the end in the last 10 games, but he finished strong. What Jalen Carter is coming out of Georgia is a wrecking ball. You have Houston on one side, because right now we're assuming that Houston would be, or Charles would be the starters. Houston, Aiden, Jalen in the middle. Yeah, we'll get the other guys later, but Jalen in the middle. Jalen's coming through that middle. He can either go through the 2 or the 3 gap. Can get in there, create havoc. He's so freaking strong. He can take on the center as well as a guard at the same time. Creates that. What happens is once he comes through the middle, now you know where the quarterback has to go. He has to go right to Aiden Hutchinson, or he has to go right to Houston. That's what the guy in the middle does. That's what Chris Jones does for the Kansas City Chiefs. Simmons, who just got paid for the Titans, that's why he got paid. He comes through the middle. He clogs these 2 holes up on the opposite sides of the center, and now the quarterback has to go to the outside, and now you got Aiden Hutchinson licking his chops. That's why Jalen Carter is so... He's such like a piece that I know will take the Detroit Lions defense over the top. You're talking about a guy that can change the team if they're willing to pull that trigger.
We haven't talked a lot about Jalen Carter, just the both of us.
The game wrecker.
And that's the thing. To me, Jalen Carter, and I know he had an issue in his personal life, and then he came up to his pro day, he was overweight, and he didn't perform very impressively. But if Jalen Carter is right, if he is in shape and he's playing his game, to me, his floor is somebody like Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins is a damn good player, and that's just my opinion. A guy who's a linchpin in their run defense, pressure up the middle, all of that. But his ceiling, could you see him being like a Quinnen Williams type ceiling? Am I out of line for that? Am I being too aggressive?
A little bit. Because I don't want to disrespect Quinnen Williams, because the reason why I say that is with Jalen Carter, they kind of had to tell us Jalen Carter was that good to make us go watch some Georgia games and then be able to decipher through all these freaking first-round picks on defense. It's like, oh, man, Jalen Carter is good. And he had a damn good national championship game, not this year, last year when they beat Alabama. Like, he actually played better than Jordan Davis and Trayvon Walker, to be honest. So, yes, Quinnen Williams, you knew from jump. Like, Quinnen Williams was a guy like, you like, nah, this dude, this kid with the big smile and the braces, he's much different than other guys. Quinnen Williams was a monster, and it didn't take him long to kind of get into that role. But not far behind.
And maybe they're a little bit different of players. I don't think that Jalen Carter will ever get the sack numbers of a Quinnen Williams. But when you talk about impact, I think maybe if you want to talk about ceiling, maybe Jeffrey Simmons, maybe a better
Jalen Carter is a 7-sack guy, 6.5, 7 sacks. But the damage he does from game to game, you'll see it.
How many sacks will he create for Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston? As you were saying, he's an elite defensive lineman, one of the best defensive lineman prospects I've seen coming out in the past 10 years. Maybe not the best, but he's in that conversation. If it wasn't for what has occurred in this offseason, he probably wouldn't even drop to 6.
This is true.
Honestly, at this point, I'd think about giving up on him as a prospect.
But you also, and you know, that's another way to make it make sense. Look at what Chris Jones, Frank Clark, a guy that most people, you know, you won't put up there with the great all-time sack leaders. He's number 1 sack leader all time in the playoffs. All time in the playoffs. You know how? Chris Jones in the middle. But you talking about that, I would take it as a sign. I think people got to take signs. Sometimes you see stuff like during the tournament. I know it's going to sound crazy, but during the tournament, don't you look for certain signs to see how you're going to fill your bracket out? Be like, oh, man, is that a Blue Jay? Okay, which one of these mascots is a Blue Jay? That's what I'm supposed to pick. If I'm the Detroit Lions, I look at it as a sign. Like, hey, he's not supposed to be here, but he is. Like, why did he fall to us this year? Like, why did we have a player who is the exact need, like the exact need on defense to take us to, like, we go from a damn good defense that has the potential to be really good stat-wise, Jalen Carter, and if he is what we believe, and you go to, like, top 10 defense in the league. Now, you're talking about creeping into that top 10 defense in the league. Last year, you finished number 5 on offense. Do you know what 5 and 10 make? That makes a conference championship.
That makes a conference championship. That makes a division winner. That makes a team that could have Super Bowl aspirations heading into the playoffs, because if you are a division winner, by definition, you should have Super Bowl. You're going to have at least one home playoff game, and depending how good your record is, you might have one home playoff game, and then you're in the conference championship. I'm not saying the Lions will be that good, but
this is how you get there.
Yes, and if Jalen Carter is the pick, like you said, when it comes to the defense, their 2 biggest needs are interior defensive linemen and maybe a linebacker.
Right.
There's no linebacker worth picking at number 6.
There's a linebacker worth picking up his contract. Devin White, baby. Devin White, baby.
Hey, and
you thought I forgot about it? Devin White. Come on, man. Hey, I'm putting it out there. We want Devin.
Oh, imagine Devin White and Jalen Carter. We talked about Devin White and Will Anderson yesterday. All the possibilities. You know what? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But first, I have to
cool down, man. Ice bath.
I have to tell you where I got my haircut yesterday. Actually, looking fresh as always. The lovely stylists in there always do a great job. I've been to like 5 of them, and they all do wonderful. I cannot recommend them enough. How would you like to win a new vehicle for you and a friend? That's right, a new car for you and your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Just get to Lady Jane's and automatically register for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Wicked awesome.
Can't get enough Woodward Sports content? Head over to woodwardsports.com right now for up-to-date sports articles and great entertainment news. We have the best writers, bloggers, and coverage all at your fingertips. Head to woodwardsports.com right now to experience all Woodward Sports has to offer.
I'm Dr. Jason Olafson, DC, the founder of the Custom Health Centers, and we've helped thousands of people learn how easy it is to lose weight and keep it off with our customized weight loss and body contouring programs.
With Custom Health, you don't feel hungry, you eat well. My name is Simeon Timbuk, and I've lost 71 pounds on the program.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. The show is flying by as usual. I am Flannel Sam. I got Braylon Edwards, JV Smooth, and Fletch. And I want to kind of take us around the NFL a little bit. The first story that I came across was Trayvon Walker, the last season's #1 overall pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Myles Murphy are working out together. First of all, I got to thank the Jacksonville Jaguars for taking Trayvon Walker instead of Aiden Hutchinson, and I think making a mistake and gift wrapping Aiden Hutchinson to the Lions because, as you know, Aiden Hutchinson led all rookies in sacks, and he had more sacks than Trayvon Walker and Kayvon Thibodeau combined. I had to get that out of the way. But Trayvon Walker had some moments. He had 3.5 sacks. He had an interception. He was a part of that Jacksonville Jaguars team that was resurgent, that won the division, that won a playoff game, and he wasn't bad. He just wasn't Aiden Hutchinson good, and I think he can be a good player. He's working out with Myles Murphy, a guy who at some points was mocked to the Lions at number 6, but I think he seems to be a guy that's falling, but the Jacksonville Jaguars draft at 24 overall. So he might be a guy that the Jacksonville Jaguars could target. And I think that would be a good pickup. You can never have too many edge rushers. Myles Murphy was good in college. I just never thought that he was worthy of a number 6 overall pick. But he's a good prospect. And I think if you pair him with a Trayvon Walker, they already have Josh Allen, who's their best pass rusher. I don't hate it. It might be a sign of things to come. And at 24, I don't mind it at all. Braylon, just talking about Trayvon Walker and Myles Murphy working out together. Do you make anything of it?
I mean, you know, he's a guy that's one of the top defensive linemen in the draft this year. Trayvon Walker was #1 last year, one of the top defensive linemen. Typically, when you hire an agent, you're going to hire an agent based off position. A lot of times you're going to go with guys that are their specialty is a certain position. So it seems like their agent's specialty in the defensive line, so he's working out with him. He's learned some of his techniques in their both. So I think it's that, but that could be something interesting for Jacksonville, looking at that relationship, seeing how they work out together and really trying to make that their nucleus because they got a good defensive line. They got a good defense, but a piece like that could take you over the top at pick 20, especially at 24.
And they also have an offense with Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Brandon Sheriff on the offensive line.
That's my breakout player this year. Like, I know this is my way too early, but that's the player that I'm going to stick with. And I said it last year, and I feel like he almost got nicked up a little bit. Travis Etienne is going to be the guy, the player that takes a step out, like kind of like Josh Jacobs did this year with 1652. I think Travis Etienne is going to be this year's breakout player.
That is not outside the realm of possibility. I would argue that Travis Etienne did break out. He had an 1,000-yard season, and he was paired with his former Clemson teammate, which was nice. They have Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. Marvin Jones Jr. was there. Now he's a Lion.
Senior.
Why did I say junior? Senior.
You said junior because I said junior. My fault.
No, that's all right.
But yeah, I mean, you look at that. That's something too that I've always liked Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne not only was a dog at Clemson, he's an all-time leading rusher in ACC history.
Oh, yeah, he was a monster.
Destroyed it. So when people think about Trevor Lawrence, oh, yeah, it was Trevor Lawrence, and he won all the national championships. You might want to look at Travis Etienne's film that year that Trevor Lawrence won the national championship. because he wasn't doing it by himself.
It was one of the best quarterback running back backfields in college football history. Just dominant. Another thing that came across was this new series called On the Clock. It's a new ESPN Plus series featuring the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL draft. It's a new show from Omaha Productions featuring Peyton, Eli, and Archie Manning, tracking 4 college quarterbacks entering the NFL draft. Kicks off tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, ESPN Plus with Bryce Young, followed by Hendon Hooker. Obviously, the Mannings are NFL royalty. Dad Archie played for the Saints. Sons Peyton and Eli won 4 Super Bowls between them, 2 Hall of Famers. Peyton is, to me, a top 5 quarterback of all time. I think an undisputed top 10. They're also good personalities. Is this something that interests you, Braylon?
You had to ask yourself, is Peyton top 5 all the time? If Peyton's not in the top 5, who's in your top 5? The hell with that show. Who's in the top 5 if Peyton's not in there?
Peyton is in the top 5. Okay, to me, he's in my top 5.
Okay, yeah, he should be. For 2 seconds, I was like,
he's in my top 5.
Top 10. Yeah, you know what's funny is like does Archie ever get tired of Eli and Peyton dragging him and stuff? It's like, look, man, like can I just chill? Can I relax? Can I sip some tea? Can I sip some tea and golf a little bit out here in Louisiana? Something about the Mannings, like they just have this thing about them. Yes, they're football, they're sports royalty as a family. You know, they're both highly successful, but they're entertaining. Like I can't say I don't get enough of them because sometimes it's too much. But Cooper is the wild card. Mm-hmm. Like I've hung out with them a couple times. Cooper's funny as hell because my brother Marcus Pollard played for the Colts, so he played for Peyton. Peyton threw him 28 touchdowns, so I know that family pretty well. Cooper's funny as hell. And then you have Eli's weirdly awkward. Like Eli on Monday night is must-see TV. I can't watch the whole Manning cast, but he's funny. It's just the awkward stuff. He'll go drink some bourbon and like the chair be empty and he'll be in the background. Like it's great, but you can't get enough of these guys. And Cooper, he's one of them. And now you got another one. Now you got Arch.
Now you got Arch. He's going to be at Texas. He's as highly rated as a prospect as Peyton was at the time.
His last name is Manning.
That's all
that is. I've seen some highlights. He looked like Dylan McCaffrey.
Ooh, that's not somebody you want.
That like when I watch Dylan McCaffrey's highlight tape, like it looks very similar to Arch Manning's highlight tape. A lot of pop flies.
Dylan McCaffrey. He was someone that I was super excited about at Michigan. But you know how we know that Dylan McCaffrey ain't it?
Because Christian McCaffrey never came to the big house.
And because he's not even good at Northern Colorado.
Where?
Northern Colorado.
Who?
He plays for his dad, Ed McCaffrey, I believe.
Deion? I'm joking.
No, but seriously, I followed him.
Yeah.
I followed his career because I wanted Dylan McCaffrey to work out at Michigan so bad, but maybe he just wasn't that guy.
I mean, sometimes the last name, it will help you, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, your parents, your parents or whatever, like they fight hard for their name. They put on so that, you can have a chance too. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like I admire that you have that. But once it's your turn, you have to do something. Like that last name can't throw touchdowns for you. And I just don't think, Dylan ever had it. I don't think Arch has it now, but hell, he's got 4 years and he's at Texas. I just don't like Texas.
I mean, Texas, they've been pretty mid as a program since Vince Young, right?
That's 2006.
That's a long time ago.
You're wrong. Colt McCoy.
Oh, how did I forget about Colt McCoy?
Because he got hurt, and thus Alabama's reign began. People don't remember that Texas was winning that Alabama national championship game. Colt McCoy gets hurt. Then Texas came back and tied it with the backup quarterback, and the backup quarterback got hurt. They finished that game with the third-string quarterback. Can you imagine if Texas wins that game and Nick Saban and this whole Alabama thing isn't even born?
It may never have happened because that was Nick Saban's first national championship at Alabama, and that kick-started what has become as dominant of a run as any coach has ever had. But it may have never happened.
JB, hand up. What's up?
So just back to the On the Clock series that ESPN Plus has, I got to watch the first 2 episodes a little bit early, and of course it was Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker, and it's a really good series because the 4 quarterbacks, they all serve as counselors for the Manning Passing Academy camp, mentoring basically younger quarterbacks in there, and a lot of other professional NFL athletes, NFL quarterbacks have been to this camp and have done really well. Josh Allen, Tua, Patrick Mahomes. It's a really good series because Archie sits here and actually kind of talks to each one of them, gets to know them a little bit better. They text back and forth, and then at the end you have Eli and Peyton both breaking down an entire game film of them just throughout their whole college career, their last college career. So it's pretty interesting that, you know, they basically get to give their sign off to these 4 QBs.
I'm about to start hitting the Mannings with copyright infringement. And here's why. They stole the Manning cast from Fox. Fox brought them in, they did the Manning cast thing, or Fox pitched the Manning cast idea to the Mannings, and the Mannings sat in the meeting, and then the Mannings, once the meeting was over, did nothing with Fox and didn't do anything. And guess what? A year later, they launched the ESPN Manning cast with ESPN. Thing 2, the show you're just talking about, are they going to pay John Gruden? Because this sounds like John Gruden's his show. What was The Classroom? This is John Gruden.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Is he getting paid for this? Well, he's getting paid by the Raiders. He's all right. He'll be all right.
He's all right. But yeah, no, the Mannings, they're very entertaining characters, and I'm kind of curious to see how Bryce Young comes out. I mean, actually, JB, let me ask you. You saw it. Was there any quarterback that really stood out to you as having really standing out above the rest?
I mean, Archie did say Bryce Young, he did talk about his height, but he just had to tell everyone, look, there have been other short QBs in the league, and they've turned out just fine. He would do just well. He was talking in regards to Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. So he said he'll do well, but honestly, from the first 2 episodes, Hendon Hooker seems like a person that definitely seems to have it.
Ooh.
You know, even though he's coming off this injury and everything like that, just seeing him work to get back better day by day, which it actually shows in the series, I think this is a guy that has it.
Hendon Hooker's the 3rd best quarterback prospect in the draft. Can't tell me differently.
Yeah, no, based on the season last year, they're 100%. And what you're basing it off of, you're right. You're basing it off of what you saw, what the eye test told you, what you saw him do against Alabama, what you saw him do partly against Georgia, and just that whole season, and the year before as well. So I get it. That's what the eyes are telling me as well. Now he's better. Now you talking about upside and all that Michigan guy. It's like, man, just imagine. No, I can't imagine because I saw him do it already.
The man in his past 2 seasons at Tennessee had a touchdown to interception ratio above 11.5 to 1. 58 touchdowns, 5 picks.
And this is at a school that gets drug a lot too. This is at Tennessee. They get drug a lot, so that's really good stats.
And the best game of his career was against an Alabama defense that featured Will Anderson and Brian Branch, 2 first-rounders. I'm just saying, I'm a big Hendon Hooker guy, as I know Fletch is, and it sounds like we all are in this room. This is a Hendon Hooker show. But I look at myself on this camera every day, and I'm like, my goodness, I look like a damn ghost. But you know where I should go? Chili Peppers Tanning, of course. Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find the cleanest salons in the D with spotless sanitized rooms and trained and certified tanning professionals. Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals. They'll beat all competitors by $5. Don't forget to pick up Australian Gold, Designer Skin, Caltan, and Swedish Beauty lotions. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. The hottest bulbs, the hottest deals, darkest tans, your vitamin D headquarters, 27 locations, and more on the way. It's Chili Peppers Tanning.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We aren't quite sure if they consume more beer or sports. Either way, the heavyweights are here. Live on Woodward Sports, daily 5 to 7 p.m.
Final segment of the day, man. Does it fly by? This is Hump Day, my 3rd day in a row. Filling in for Ryan Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I got Braylon Edwards to my right. It's been fun, man. I love filling in on this show. This is one of my favorite things to do at the network.
All right, man. Come on, man. I love when you come here. I love when we work together, man. It's a great situation, great vibe. I'm not coming tomorrow, though, man. I'm taking tomorrow off, man. I'm tired. I'm tired, man.
That's all right. I'll hold it down.
I'm joking. I'll be here.
It's all right.
We're joking.
And, you know, with football season obviously being past us, we still like to reminisce about the past. And one of the questions that was posed is, who is the player you miss watching every Sunday? And I love how Marshawn Lynch is on that.
I played with him.
And, I mean, Marshawn Lynch is one that was obviously a great running back, probably a Hall of Famer. Braylon, is there a NFL player that you miss watching every Sunday?
Yeah, there's two. I'll do one more immediate. I'll do one kind of like immediate, and then I'll do one a little older. The immediate one, I tried to come up with another one. It's Cam Newton. Like, it's Cam Newton. And what I mean by that, I'm talking Cam 2015. Like, 2014, he was good. Like, his freshman year, his rookie year, he broke the record. I think 4,400. I think Andrew Luck broke it, I think, the year after him. But breaks the record. And so he was fun to watch. Took him a while to get there, but that 2015 season, man, just everything came into fruition. I think it was 3,800 yards. I think he had 1,000 yards rushing. I think he had 20 yards rushing for, 38 touchdowns passing. It's just everything clicked. It was fun to watch him, like the dance and the celebration, the leadership. Remember, after he scored every touchdown, he would find a kid in the audience to get the ball to.
I remember that.
A lot of people don't talk about that, but they talk about the dancing and all that stuff. He was fun to watch. Must-see TV. So Cam Newton for sure in the immediate. Maybe Odell too, but Barry Sanders. Like, it's always like the answer is always going to be Barry Sanders. Like, Barry Sanders was the only reason why I watched the Detroit Lions, and game in and game out, year in and year out, number 20 never let us down. Number 20 never let us down.
Absolutely.
Barry Sanders and Randy Moss will always be 1-2 for me in terms of players I miss. Barry and Randy.
That's fair, and those are good answers, by the way.
Yeah.
It's funny, when you were talking about Cam Newton, you mentioned one of my players that I miss watching the most. That's Andrew Luck.
That's why you smile when I say Andrew Luck.
I was so sad when he retired. I thought that he was going to come in and be one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Obviously, in his first 3 seasons, he takes the Colts to the playoffs. He goes around further every single year. The AFC Championship game. It didn't go very well in that game, but Andrew Luck, he was a victim of the
Deflategate.
of Deflategate, but the organization not surrounding him with enough. And I remember I believe it was 4th year, he got hurt. He got a lacerated kidney. He struggled with injuries throughout the last part of his career. But even his last season, he was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL.
T.Y. Hilton, very underrated receiver.
T.Y. Hilton was his favorite wide receiver. That was a pretty good connection. And his last game ever was actually a loss at Arrowhead to Patrick Mahomes in the 2018 playoffs.
So pass the torch for you.
Pass the torch.
From Andrew Luck being your favorite to Patrick Mahomes.
It is pretty symbolic, isn't it? And one more, since you gave 2, I'll give another one. I got to go with Ed Reed.
Ooh. You might have stole the show with that one.
Ed Reed is the greatest safety in NFL history.
Not even close.
And he's the type of guy that, when you talk about ball hawks, he is number 1 on the list. And when he when he picks the ball off, he's looking to score.
Yeah.
I remember that one he had against Philadelphia. I believe it was a 107-yard interception return.
107. You see the sideline doing this the whole time. Get down. Get down. Go. Go, 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 go. It went from get down to go.
How many people would have just taken a knee in the end zone?
Shit, everybody except him and Antonio Cromartie.
Not Ed Reed, that's for sure.
The thing about it was, I get asked this question all the time because everybody always says, you would be surprised. Most people that don't know football always think Palomalu. Like Palomalu's the name to come. And no disrespect to Troy. The reason why I can speak on it, guess what division I got drafted to? The AFC North. Yeah. Guess who I had to see twice a year for 5 years? Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu. Yep. I had to see them both. Troy Polamalu was an excellent talent. Definitely deserves first ballot Hall of Famer. He's fast as hell. He was instinctive. He could hit. Like he would give everything for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, he was tremendous. But he took so many chances. Ed Reed was calculated. He was methodical. You hear Peyton Manning and Bill Belichick break down a play and said they had never seen anything like that. To hear Bill Belichick and Peyton Manning both say, I have never seen anybody make a play like that, I rest my case. Ed Reed, greatest safety ever. Sean Taylor would have been a close second if he didn't pass.
Yeah, Sean Taylor is definitely one of the...
Rest in peace.
Yeah, one of the ones that was his career is tragically cut short. And Troy Polamalu, there's no shame in being the second best safety of the era, but Ed Reed was certainly better.
Yeah, you got Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Ronnie Lott, Brian Dawkins is in there somewhere, 6. I wasn't a huge fan, but I couldn't hate per se. There's another old timer I'm missing. It'll come to me.
It's all right. That's fine. JB, let me get to you really quick. Is there anyone that you miss watching play every Sunday?
I I'm more on the running backs and wide receiver side, so I got to go with Larry Fitzgerald, and of course, I got to go with Calvin.
Oh,
yeah.
Calvin. Well, not Calvin, obviously Detroit, but Larry, that's a good one.
We all got some good ones.
That's
Those
a
are
good
some of my favorite players. I was a big Cam Newton fan myself. Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, obviously being a Lions fan, big Calvin guy. But I think that is a good place to end it. Talking about NFL legends. Thank you all for watching. It was a really, really fun show on this hump day. Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. We will see you tomorrow. April 13th, a Thursday. Braylon will be here. I believe I will be here as well. We're going to have JB and Fletch. We will see you all tomorrow. Peace.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us. Hop on the YouTube chat. Slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.